Start the Town of Bay Harbor Islands Council meeting for January 11, 2016. If everyone could please rise, I'm going to call Mr. Kurtz. Come on up. If you could take the microphone right over there. Yeah. Up, turn up. Let's turn up. Here we go. There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Turn it off.
Stay up. So welcome back, everyone, for our first council meeting of the year. I want to introduce Joseph Kurtz. And Joseph is a Bobcat and also has the distinction of being the first Super Bobcat Award winner for the year. Bay Harbor Islands Ruth K. Broad K-8 Center has like a monthly award where they give out to, kids that have a distinction in their class, but there's actually an award now that is one child for the entire school for the entire year. And this gentleman won it. And I just wanted to point out because, regardless of whether you come from Bay Harbor, Val Harbor, Surfside, or wherever, the rule still remains the same that once you're a Bobcat, always a Bobcat. So I want to say congratulations to you. We're very proud of you, and we wish you all the best. We know you're going to do great things in the future because you are a Bobcat. So thank you so much, and we're going to introduce small token of our appreciation is the certificate for you. It's really big. So we're going to take a picture here. Here we go.
One more. 3, big smile.
Congratulations again, and good luck, okay? You're going to have a great year. All right, take care. Okay, we're going to do roll call.
Councilman Yaffe?
Here.
Councilman Salver? Councilman Reed?
Here.
Councilman Morano? Here. Councilman Fuller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Bruder?
Here.
Mayor Leonard?
Here.
All present?
Okay, we have special guests in our audience. Before we get to all the other items, I want to ask, as a matter of courtesy, our County Commissioner, Sally Heyman, is here to speak on our library item, and I'd like to pull that out of order so we can discuss that first for her. So, if anyone wants, let's see, what number is that? That's the
16.
Number 16. So, Commissioner Heyman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council, administration, and our constituents. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come here, and most especially after a long day, appreciate taking it out of order. If I might make 2 quick commercials beforehand. One is to thank and acknowledge the administration. Your next council meeting, you will see an item that's called civil citation. We work with all police chiefs in Dade County, including Bay Harbor Island. The intent of this is on misdemeanors to allow the police one extra level of discretion, and what that will do is allow your men and women in law enforcement to stay in Bay Harbor Island instead of going over to TJK and booking somebody and taking away the resources of public safety from the island, and additionally save quite a few people from being arrested for innocuous, nonviolent misdemeanors. So thank you. The other thing I want to tell you about briefly is mom and pop small business grants. You've always been supportive of that, Mayor, and it's coming back again. It's an annual distribution for small businesses, including those in Bay Harbor Island, and all your predecessors as mayors have embraced this. It's this year, February 1st to February 19th. We'll be giving you a notice through administration. we hope we have a lot of applicants for the businesses here. They have to be in existence for 2 years. And with that, for a long-time effort from previous mayors that are still on the dais and ones before you, you have looked at having a library come to Bay Harbor Island. Not the little mobile library with some books you check out. For the wonderful community center over abutting Ruth K. Broad Elementary, and the community services now, including the fire department, the opportunity to fully serve our constituents, but most especially the residents of Bay Harbor Island and those who visit here with a library, full service, with technology and the modernist of opportunities for socializing, a safe venue to learn, as well as check out books. I can't thank you enough for seizing the opportunity to move the residents and the city forward and team up with some of our great library staff that is here. So they'll present the options, whatever I can do to cut the bureaucracy, move it forward. I'm happy to. It's such a privilege to represent all of you, representing all of our constituents. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thank you. Can we have a motion, a second for discussion? Can we have a motion? No. Second? Second. Okay. Discussion?
Yeah, just for the record, how much does the library component of our budget cost right now?
About $20,000 a year. We budget that for library cards for individual residents. If they come in, we will pay for that card, and then they can use it wherever they, to utilize the library system.
Right, and so if we do opt into this library system, first of all, do we automatically, all residents get a county library card?
Yes.
Okay, and who is going to pay for, like, the library itself, the bill? The bill that we're paying for, right?
Yes.
But how about stocking the shelves and everything like that?
That would be the library.
The library system itself?
Yes.
And the staff?
And the staff.
And
their staffing is, yes.
so all we'd have to do is build
it,
interior or whatever?
Build it, and modify, we've been working with the library for quite some time, so whatever little tweaks we needed to, or to address mainly data service and some electrical outlets are primarily like the main thing, and just shifting a wall a little bit so there's more of a passageway between two adjoining rooms, and that was really the main thing that we had to do. Most of the library, I know I'm speaking for them now, but most of the rest of it would be provided by the library system.
And in perpetuity, they will, run it, they'll stock it, they'll refurbish it, or whatever?
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The hours of the library. The hours of the library. Am I to understand it's going to close at 6 o'clock?
Well, you know what? For the purposes of the discussion, the proposal here says 5 days a week. I would ask if he would come up now, actually. Ray Baker from the library, we spoke about that.
Yeah.
I know there was a desire to have as many days possible. Initially, we could split some time and adjust that a little bit. So maybe we could have a half day, and go into a 6th day, not a full day, or depending on how we want to do it. And then there's always an option if we wanted to pay for and include an extra day and pay for that. But these are things that we would work out in an interlocal agreement, which would be presented either next month or as fast as we could do it. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, Ray, if you could take it for a second.
Are we going to have nighttime is what I really want to know. For people who want to do, for college students who want to do reference work or anything like that, are they going to have access to those computers?
Good evening, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. My name is Ray Baker. I'm Assistant Director for the Miami-Dade Public Library System. With me also is my colleague and the other Assistant Director in our department, Ms. Kimberly Matthews. And first of all, it's been a pleasure working with Mr. Watson and JC on this proposal so far, so we're very happy to have made it to this point, and with the mayor, of course. Our proposal right now contemplates 5 days a week of service. As the manager mentioned, we're really concentrating right now on, it could be Monday to Friday, it could be Tuesday to Saturday, but we were looking, for the purposes of developing a proposal, we put down 10 to 6. I think we're willing to work with the city on those hours to try to figure out, when this community center will be most operational, when your foot traffic is the highest, peak hours, and then we kind of go from there and developing what the hours and the schedule will be. Really, for the purposes of the proposal, we put 10 to 6. So we're willing to work with you on that, is my answer.
Thank you.
I have a question. You said that if we wanted to open on Saturdays, it would be an additional cost. Approximately how much would the cost be to have it 6 days a week, like Aventura and other municipalities in the area?
I would have to do another run of those costs. I think what we're really anticipating is that there may be one day of the week where you're really slow, like maybe Mondays are a slow day at the library, and you want to be open Tuesday to Saturday instead. Like I said, we're willing to work with you on that. It would probably be, off the top of my head, probably around $30,000 a year to add an additional day of service. But if we were making the recommendation to you, we would say, let's see what the traffic is like in this facility in the first year. It may be much different than what we're anticipating in terms of who's going to visit, what times are they going to visit, and like I said, I hope we wouldn't have to go to the point where we have to have a separate interlocal for additional service.
And what are, for seniors specifically, because what are the programs that you're planning on, implementing? I know that you're going to have computers there. Are you planning on running computer classes for them? I mean, are you going to have, book clubs? I mean, what kind of activities specifically for our seniors are you going to have?
Well, I think one of the exciting things about this particular location is the fact that we're going to be, living with you all in the community center. And we believe that we'll be able to take advantage of developing programs for, whoever your biggest constituents are using that facility with the city. This is a small location on the side that we're on, and there's much more open meeting room on the actual community center side. But we would anticipate that we would be providing classes like we provide now in other branches for seniors in terms of computer classes, whether it be learning basic Microsoft Office programs or email, and we would really start tailoring that based on what your residents are looking to have there.
Thank you.
Let me ask actually. Also, when I had read through the materials, my inclination is to go and accept option A, except I did have one question. One of the issues is that we're spending a lot of money on the design of the entire community center, and option A includes that we're using essentially your old furnishings, which I think really defeats the purpose of us spending the money we spent on designing it. I know option B that you priced out here, or at least that Ron has priced out, includes all new furnishings, but it also includes all new materials. What I want to know is what the price would be if we're going to be providing the furnishings, but use the materials that were in A.
Well, just so you know, most of what's going to go in there, with the exception, I think, of shelves, will be brand new, and coming from, we'll be supplying that. A lot of the furniture that we've ordered we're called out for a certain amount of tables and chairs in the community center. I'm not sure if there might be a day when we need them all, but most of the time I don't think so. So we could actually use a lot of that over on the library side. So, with the exception of, say, shelves and, some chairs that I think they would be supplying, everything else would be pretty much brand new.
So no, I understand it's brand new, but
And it would match what we have.
Okay, because the way it's worded here, it doesn't have it. The way option A right now, the way it's worded in the packet that we received, simply states that the library system will be providing whatever it has surplus other locations. And then option B talks about new materials that will be purchased by the county rather than us. We're designing and we're paying for all the furnishings to the community center. I just wanted to understand if we are going to supplement that, what kind of cost we're looking at.
And just so you know, we budgeted or we approved $143,000 for that. That's all included. Like whatever extra that I have in case would be utilized over there. So there is right now
So we'll
no
be
cost.
purchasing it, not the county, because the packet says the county now.
Right.
So is it...
Except shelves, we're not
So-
doing
Okay, so it's
shelves.
just an error in the packet then.
So option A is they are providing just the shelving, and option B is new material, meaning...
New books and
New books,
Yeah, all that kind of
so,
Which you share anyway, you interlibrary
No, I know.
loan, so...
I
There
know.
was somebody in between A and B, the way it's written is
Yeah, yeah.
accurate, that's what I was getting at.
so why don't we let the gentleman explain what are the difference?
Sure. So we were working within a revenue parameter to try to stay within the amount of funding that would be generated by Bay Harbor Islands based on the revenue projections as of October 1st, 2016. If you recall, back in 2012, one of the big costs associated with building out the library was the startup cost. So in the first year, we did everything we could to try to fit within that revenue parameter. And in the way I worded that proposal, we do have some brand new furniture that's in storage. For example, it was left over from the building of the recently opened Northeast State Aventura Library that we would use to furnish this location. It's brand new, never been used. So I hope you don't take that as being used, but it has never been used. But the way I wrote that proposal, we also contemplated the fact that year one is heavy on startup costs, but in year two, you'll notice that really only the costs are associated with the staffing and the general operating costs. And in that proposal, I mentioned that we would be more than willing to negotiate, what additional features you would need in there, whether it be upgrading furniture, whether it be updating the collection, whether it be updating the staffing levels that we have there. So the first year number was really there, and the mention of the furniture to try to fit within the revenue parameter we have to get this proposal up and running.
Good. Any other questions?
I would just, for the benefit of the audience, can you just explain the relationship when you have a county library within a municipality and how the funding works and the taxing?
Sure. So when we come back to this council next month with an interlocal agreement, we'll also come back with a resolution. I believe your manager will prepare a resolution stating that you will join the Miami-Dade County Library Taxing District. That would then become effective October 1st, 2016. Each resident that has a home in Bay Harbor Islands would be paying that on their tax bill in addition to your town of Bay Harbor millage rate. There's a separate millage rate for the Miami-Dade Library Taxing District, which is currently .284. I believe the manager ran some numbers on the average value per home of what a resident would pay based on the value of your assessed home in the current year. And I don't have that handy right here, but I think
We have it.
Sure. Okay. And essentially, it would become part of your tax bill every year. And you would have all of the services that you have access to every single library in the district. With the addition of this, there would be 50 branches throughout the county. You would have access to every material that we have throughout the system. If there's an item that's not in your library, that book would be delivered, or material delivered to your library for use. If you didn't want to drive, let's say, down to South Gate or down to the main library, items would be delivered here. Your relationship with us would be such, as I mentioned earlier, that we would be developing programming suited towards your residents to try to make sure that you guys are getting exactly what you want from the library in your community.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. And you're also able to download to your Kindle or anything else from...
Thank you for saying that. Yes, we have numerous we call them electronic databases for services like Hoopla and Lynda.com, where you can go in and do tutoring, take classes on your own, download books, download music, download movies, and they're available to you 24/7, even when your library is not open.
Ray, can you also mention that program that would also be available for seniors or for residents that are homebound, that you do deliver books to them?
Yeah, the Connections program, where we also do deliver books to senior citizens if they are unable to leave their homes. We do provide that as a service. There is a fee for that, but it's a small fee. But it's geared towards people who aren't able to leave their homes for whatever reason, whether it be medical disability or...
Well, we can work that out. I know.
Yeah. If I may, if everyone else has asked their questions, when I met with Mr. Baker, with our staff, and also with other county staff, including the county mayor, I have to admit that this is really a new direction for our town, offering programming, offering books. This is something that I know that residents have been asking for years, and the ability to actually do this is it's actually a really great thing that we're doing. So I'm very much in favor of it. I'm in favor of option A, but I do have some minor tweaks that I hope that staff works out with the interlocal. My understanding is if we approve it tonight, you guys get back, you discuss the details, you come back to us in a month, and then we vote on it. There are some things I also have the same concern about the hours and days. I'm not in favor of 5 days. I think that this facility is going to be a new step forward for the county. I know that in the mayor's own words, he said that it would be a library for the 21st century, even the 22nd century. I tend to agree that we're doing things a little bit differently than is kind of the norm for the county's library system. I think that we should be looking towards a little bit later hours, more days, more availability, and I want to make sure that when we have staff discuss it with the county, that's put in writing in the interlocal to protect our interests, because I don't want to have us say, okay, we're going to have it 6 days or even 7 days, and then come back and then procedurally or administratively, due to budget constraints or whatever, that gets changed. That's my primary concern. What I'd like to make sure is that what we set it at is we manage expectations moving forward from the beginning of the relationship. So, 3 years from now, if let's say we have the library open until 7 o'clock at night or even 8 o'clock on a day, that we can do what's in the best interest of our residents. And I know that not all libraries are open every day, but I know Sunhouse Beach, they're open, and they get a lot of traffic. There's a lot of residents that use it. I go to Sunhouse Beach, so it's a beautiful facility. That's my only wish. So I hope that when we approve it, it's with the direction to staff that we actually have some little caveats to kind of tweak it out. I'm sure that's okay with you, as far as, we can work it out.
We're do everything we can to work it out.
Good. That's great. Okay. We have public comment. Mr. Maya?
I'd like to make one more comment before
sure.
public comment.
Of course.
But would it be okay that if we don't open the library till noon, to go to 8 o'clock at night or something like that, 7 o'clock at night, so we could still use the same amount of hours, but just adjust them from...
Yeah, we're very flexible on working out the hours. I would just say that in year one, we're kind of stuck on leaving it at 40 hours a week, regardless of what times those are. We can definitely work with you on that. If the foot traffic there is going to be, everything's from 3 to 8 o'clock at night, it would behoove us, as the mayor mentioned, to make sure that we have the library open at that time.
Yeah.
So we're willing to work with you on that.
But can we have it in our agreement, flexibility of hours and days, so that, you're saying now Monday through Friday, until 6 o'clock, but, a contract is a contract.
Exactly.
And I would not be comfortable unless there's that loophole in which we decide as together that movement of hours and days.
Yes, ma'am, and this proposal was, the starting point, and certainly as we go through the negotiation of the interlocal, we'll see how we can put some flexible language in there to make sure that concern's addressed.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page, that we need to put it in that agreement to have those set directions. So, Mr. Maya?
Jordan, very briefly, while he's on his way up,
Okay.
can you just speak to the other idea? There was a private library, and that idea just seemed to go away.
Yeah, I guess Ron didn't mention it. I asked previously that we also look at a private option, just to explore all of our options to see what's in the best interest. My understanding from Ron is that they couldn't match it. I don't know, did they actually submit a bid?
He did not. We spoke over the phone. We gave him all the information. We told him the budget, roughly what we were working with, and it took him about 6 weeks to get back to us.
Yeah.
And he said he really couldn't do it for that, to work within that, and he advised he said, I would go with the county.
Yeah.
He goes, I would love to say that I could do it, but The numbers didn't work.
Yeah, I wanted to see some options. We actually, several of us on the council went to a League of Cities conference where there was a company that I guess does what you guys do on the private side. So I thought it would behoove us, since you guys were coming up with your bid, to see how the private sector could compete. And in this case, I guess they couldn't, so.
We asked him for something in writing, and unfortunately, he became ill.
Yeah.
Seriously ill.
Yeah, I heard.
And he just wasn't able to give us something in writing.
But, I thought it's always in the best interest to see what's the, highest quality for lowest price. So, Mr. Maya, come on up. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. I think having a library in town is wonderful, terrific, and we should move forward with it. I was a little confused in terms of reading the proposals in terms of what actually we are required to put forth financially in terms of what we get, and looking at option A and option B with the furniture, because, we had already, provided for in our budget for furnishing the entire building. So now, some of that furnishing could go over in terms of what actually comes out of our pocket to do this. And if they're going to provide the furniture and it's going to be relatively new, and in addition to what we're going to provide, which obviously is going to be new as well, then really maybe the only difference between the two is the $30,000 in, new books versus old books. I don't know if I'm reading that correctly or not, in terms of the base, difference. It's just $30,000. Okay. And so that being the case, I think Josh was leaning towards this and if you weren't, then I'm sorry. But I would suggest that we spend those $30,000 and bring in the new books, and have a fresh start. Not necessarily because the whole library is going to be new, but because from my experience, just in terms of getting books from my father and that sort of thing, he won't read anything. He'll look at the copyright, and if it's not, if it's before 2010, he's not interested. And all he's interested in is new bestsellers, popular, authors, that sort of thing. And so if we have all of these new books here, I think our seniors would appreciate that. Most everyone else, the electronic system is great. I use it. I'm a favor of it. So I say spend the extra money if all we're talking about is $30,000.
All right, Ms. Kennedy, go. Yep.
My name is Kathleen Kennedy. I'm at 9900 West Bay Harbor Drive. A happy New Year to each and every one of you. I want to thank Sally Heyman for coming here tonight. Also Linda Zolba, ex-mayor. I don't think we should put a price on the library. I think whatever we sow seeds in little kids, let's do it. We never shouldn't even count the money. Let's do it. These are our future, whatever we have, and don't put a price on a library. So let's spend the money. I don't mind paying taxes, even though lately I don't know what's going on with our $24 million debt, but when it comes to the library, let's spend the money. And thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, hearing no other public comment, that motion, was that for a particular item, A, B, or C, or?
Well, I just want to make sure, is the difference $30,000 between, because I think, I see their faces and I know, even though they have, I'm sorry, I want to be clear that what's the difference between, what Victor Maya said? Is the difference, because I'm looking and you're shaking your heads, no, it's not 30,000. So what is the difference for us to get the new books versus not getting the new books?
If we go and buy an all-new collection and buy all-new furniture, we're estimating approximately $80,000 additional for the startup cost.
What if you just buy new books?
Furniture.
Entirely new collection, we're estimating about $80,000, which is about $40,000 difference from our proposal.
So about half.
When you talk about new collection versus materials that are on hand, are you saying that, you wouldn't have current book, fiction, nonfiction, Or is it just that it's circulating, it's used from other branches?
So before we opened up the new Northeast branch, we had the Northeast branch at a temporary location at Aventura City Hall. That was a location that's probably about, maybe a little smaller than what we're going to be going into. But we pulled the collection out of there, had, a broad range of materials from every category you can think of, and we have that in storage right now. Our thought was to take that collection in order to work within the revenue parameter that we're working with on the revenues that you'll generate by joining the taxing district to help us make the startup cost work for the first year. So we would essentially, that's why in option A we proposed a $15,000 supplement to that collection to get more bestsellers, to get more children's books or books geared towards the people in your area. So I wouldn't look at it as a used collection. It would be like every other library. You have some books that are newer, some that are older. But our goal would be to supplement it with more bestsellers and things that we think people would be more interested in, really to refresh the collection.
Aren't you generally, throughout the library system, supplementing or updating
Every
on a
year.
monthly basis?
Well,
I mean, there's always new books coming out. I'm not saying that you may have the #1 bestseller. Well, you probably wouldn't you? I mean, a lot of people rely on the library to get the most current fiction and nonfiction. So how often do you update that?
So throughout the year, we're updating our collection. So we make purchases every month.
But let me ask you a question though, but the way the library system works, if I wanted a book and it wasn't at the library branch that I wanted, I could order it online and it would get shipped to the branch. So theoretically, if somebody wanted a book at our branch and they're in the Homestead branch, it would get shipped from Bay Harbor to Homestead and vice versa. If we wanted a book from Homestead, it would get shipped from Homestead to here. So they're all interchangeable. I mean, it's not, yeah, the book is here, but theoretically, it's not always here. Anyone has an equal right to use all the books in the system, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, I mean, I have to say that the whole option thing, I think it would probably be better to have staff work out with the direction from council to get, the deal, to have, exactly what we want as far as, new, the current bestsellers and all that.
Yeah, but But the thing is that we have already bought furniture for specifically this space. So if you
Right.
could discount the furniture and give
Right.
us the books instead in option A, because we've
Right.
already,
Because we already have it.
we already have our, I mean, I know these are things that you have to work out, but,
Sure.
I think that, we already have the furniture. We've spent,
Yeah.
we have the money for it. We've spent the money for it. Why don't we take that money instead of buying furniture for us in A and giving us the new, the books instead? I know
Ray,
additional
before
cost.
you answer, just, some of the furniture would have went in there regardless of the library was there or not. I believe what the library is talking about is things we wouldn't buy, like shelving and how they their desk and display things.
The circulation desk when you walk in. There's other pieces of furniture, like Ron said, that won't be just tables and chairs that they've already bought. That would be
Right, but
library
that
specific.
cost is not,
It's not 40.
but that's not, right.
Yeah, this is not.
But the cost of that is less than what you have here, because your cost is to do a whole library without even taking any of our stuff. We've already paid for some of the stuff. I'm not saying that we're not going to take the shelving or whatever. I'm saying to you, discount what we are giving you from your proposal and give us, the newer books instead.
How about if we approach it this way? No, I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I get that impression.
Am I right?
If we set, because I don't think there's an A, a B, or C,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
we're talking about, but what about if we just set a certain dollar figure right now, that we just say, our first priority are the books,
Right.
to supplement anything else out for the shelving, this is what you have to work with, go from here, and let staff accomplish what we want.
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily even have to put a dollar figure because there are some things that can be negotiated.
Could you let us
on both
come
sides.
back to, I
Yeah.
gotta get
The
the,
interlocal agreement next month.
Yeah, yeah.
With all the details.
We'll tell you.
But at least you know where we're,
Right, you understand the
You
direction.
Our priority is
Understand the
money on the
direction.
books, not on the shelving.
Yeah, and I think we are saying
We're on
the
the
same
same
thing, even
side.
with us, because, we are going to refine these numbers more in the interlocal. We're guessing in a lot of ways what we're going to need in there based on the size of this facility. And we've worked with Ron very closely on figuring out exactly how much space we have, where furniture is going to go, and we have to refine that a little bit more in the interlocal. So this number will go down as we get into the next phase of this process.
we just want you to know that books,
New books?
new
Yeah,
books,
we're
new
on-
materials is our priority.
And since this is going to come back next month, I'd ask, the council's permission if I can continue to work with staff in setting up the interlocal, because I've met with the county mayor, I've met with county staff several times in trying to move this forward, even though my name's not on the sponsorship of the item. I'd like to say that I took a great deal of time in getting us to this point, and I'd like to continue for the last month, if I can work with staff in hammering out the final details of the interlocal. I just want to make, I think we're on the same page of where we're coming from, so if no objection in there. Thanks. All right, so...
I had a technical question for the town attorney. If this gets approved, we're about to change the tax bill for the entire community.
Yes.
And I just find it a little bit unusual that we would have the authority to do that without a series of meetings, a first reading, a second reading. I mean, we're changing the tax bills perpetually. And I know that there's been several, I've been sitting here for 17 years, and there's been several very outspoken residents, against opting into the county system. So, are we confident, as an administration, that we are in compliance with, whatever the county regulation or the state regulation is for changing all of our residents' tax bill perpetually?
The answer is yes, provided that sufficient notice is given of what's happening and what the consequences will be.
Well, also keep in mind, it's not just us, the county has to approve it.
Yeah.
Technically, it's the county that's going to be voting. We're voting on the interlocal, and they have to accept it. So I believe the more, pertinent answer to your question is the county is going to be responsible for putting that notice on.
I am not questioning the ability of the county to place an item on our tax bills. I am questioning the authority of this council to pass a new tax on our residents at a normal council meeting without a first reading, a second reading, and a heck of a lot of public announcements that, hey, even if it is kind of a marginal increase, your tax bills are going to increase by, $20 a month or $100 a month, depending on how much your house is worth, perpetually, which essentially reduces the market value of their houses.
The answer is it always comes down to an issue of notice and sufficiency of notice, and your point's well taken, and it certainly would be safer to give more than adequate notice of what's happening, what's going to cause it, and what the consequences will be.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so I mean...
once they come back with more of a definite, whatever our options are going to be and what our agreement is going to be, then we can do notices,
Yes.
This isn't the same type of notice that would be required for an ordinance, because what we're voting to do is approve an interlocal agreement. Then, after we approve that, it goes to the county, and the counny adopts it, and then the new tax, we join the taxing district, and it appears in our tax bill in November.
Right, but nevertheless,
I understand.
they're giving staff permission to negotiate with the county for something that's going to affect all our residents forever.
No, but your point was well taken. I'm just saying it's not the typical two readings so that you have two notices.
Right.
So I think that we should, I think
Make it very clear in the newsletter on the website what we're doing.
The newsletter, I
The
think...
amounts unknown right now, that's the problem.
Well, we have a
estimate, depending on what we choose. It's going to
But I think that we need to put that in our newsletter and explain it.
I will.
But wait a
And I'm
minute,
trying to be optimistic. I know we're going to try for 30 days, but, it might take a little more than 30. I don't know.
Who knows?
I think we should go past the newsletter, because not everyone gets the newsletter, not everyone is on the computer, and if this is something that is going to affect every property owner, it should go to the property owner list.
Every property does get the newsletter now.
We use the property owner list.
Yeah, every property gets the newsletter now.
Well, I know my neighbor didn't get it.
Well, Ron, sometimes when they're important announcements, we send them out with the water bill, so...
We'll do extra.
Right.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. We need a poll vote.
To
The motion's to approve it. as we discussed.
To approve going forward and having our staff work with the library to come up with an interlocal agreement
Yeah.
with more precise numbers.
Option A modified.
Right, yeah. Okay, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Yaffe.
4.
Councilmember Staller.
4.
Councilmember Reed. 4. Councilmember Morano. 4. Councilmember Fuller.
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder. 4. Mayor Leonard.
4.
Passes unanimously.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Congratulations.
coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hayden. Thank you so much for your work. One other item, we also have another elected official here for an agenda item number 22, Councilman Salver's item on prohibiting contracting with businesses that boycott individuals. It's Councilman Groisman. Yes, Councilman Groisman from Bal Harbor? Yeah.
Right, I put this on the agenda, and we're taking it, I appreciate you taking it out of order, Mayor. We have Councilman Gabriel Groisman here from Bal Harbor, which is a municipality that passed a similar piece of legislation. I thought it was important, for us to discuss it and possibly go forward with it. And if you could, Gabriel, introduce yourself and just give us a little bit of background, about this. I do want to mention before you speak that I did see a copy of the letter from the New York State Assemblyman congratulating the municipality on the passage of this item. So, please give us a little bit of your insight as to how this was developed.
It's an honor to be here in front of this council. My name is Gabriel Groisman. I'm a resident of Bal Harbor and a council member there just down the street. In November, we passed a very important ordinance. From my perspective, one of the most important ordinances we've ever passed in Bal Harbor, which addressed a rise in discrimination, which now has taken a different form, which is something that's called BDS, the Boycott, Divest, and Sanction Movement, against primarily the State of Israel. And the movement is founded by people that their sole purpose is to destroy that state, and that's something that's of interest to the people in this community. But it's really something broader than that, and this bill is not directed, the ordinance is not directed specifically at all to the State of Israel. The point from our community's perspective, and I respectfully would believe the same for this community, is that it is not in our interest, in our community in Bal Harbor, to do business with any entity who will go with the wind of the day and begin to boycott any individual or entity on the basis of their religion, of their race, of their national origin. And this movement is doing exactly that, and it's something that's been taking the country by storm, unfortunately, first in academia, and now in trade with the National Electricians Union, that's not its formal name, taking a boycott on the State of Israel recently as well. And it is in the interest, we found that it was in the interest of our community to exercise our power and our freedom to contract as a municipality, to require any entity that is contracting with our municipality to sign a statement, it's within the contract, that they're not involved in the boycott, and they will not be involved in the boycott of any individual or entity on the basis of their national origin or location, when that location is an open trade jurisdiction of the United States. Essentially, if it's a country or a place that the United States is doing business with, they can't boycott that entity. And we passed that 5-0. This legislation, we were the first municipality in the country to pass it, although 4 states have passed the very similar ordinance or bill. The state of Florida presented one now, the state of California presented one now, the city of New York is presenting a very similar bill in this next month at the hearing. I think it's an important statement to be made that there should be a price tag to deciding to boycott any individual, and this is the discrimination of the day, and I think that it would behoove this council to consider a resolution similar to ours to protect its citizens and those interests.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I'd just like to know, why did you stop at
those particular protected classes, because I'm not in favor of discrimination of any sort. So I wonder if we could include also to prohibit boycotting people on the basis of sexual orientation, disability, marital status, economic status.
Absolutely, I agree
Every
with you.
class included that, be all inclusive.
I absolutely agree with you. And I believe ours was broader than that. I don't have the language in front of me, but it's not...
We have it.
We should. I'll sit it out. There's no other questions. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay. So, can we get a motion?
I'll move it.
With the change?
With the changes to include,
Yes.
Can I ask?
Well, how about this, just generally speaking, include all-inclusive language and leave it to the lawyers to hash it out.
Why is it an ordinance all classes?
All classes.
Why is it an ordinance and not maybe a resolution?
Well, that's a good question. Gabriel, if you don't mind if I can there. Why wasn't it a resolution, and why is it an ordinance, not a resolution?
I'm not an administrative attorney, but for our city, the way our municipality, the way we did it was there was a resolution, and then there was first a resolution, and then there was an ordinance.
Well, absolutely.
Why? It was just a way to make it enforceable for future councils. I mean, just like I'm sure here, anything can be overturned with a majority vote, but our city attorney thought that it was more important to pass it as an ordinance, and that way it's included, sort of ingrained into the...
Do you want to bring it back to
the municipality?
I think what we should do is, I mean, if we have a consensus, give it to the lawyers, let them wordsmith it, let them incorporate Kelly's suggestions, and bring it back on first reading.
Absolutely, great. We have a motion, we have a second?
Wait a minute, in our town though, would it be our culture to do the resolution?
I think we should do it as an ordinance.
You can do it as an ordinance.
An ordinance.
Should be an ordinance?
Yeah. I was just about to get to it. I have your paper right here. Thank you, Mr. Maya. In fact, I'll call you right now. Chief.
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street, and you didn't get the paper earlier because I didn't think you'd get to this agenda item given your 11 o'clock time limit, since it was last on there. It's my understanding that every single contract that the town enters into has provisions against discrimination of race, sex, age, national origin, disability, blah, 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 blah. We are not going to contract with anybody that does that. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
So we already have language that protects us from any contracting with anybody that engages in discrimination. Personally, I am all in favor of all of this, but as a municipality, I think this is completely beyond the scope of what needs to be done. And I think that if you want to support, the legislation that's pending before the state, you can, have a resolution supporting the legislation that's before the state. You want to support the town of Bal Harbour, resolution supporting the town of Bal Harbour. You want to make it resolved that we don't think that there should be any type of contractual engagement with anyone that wants to engage in the BDS movement. Make it a formal statement, but to actually have an ordinance along those lines, I think is way too much. Finally, we have a lot of investments in pension funds and all that, and frankly, one of the ways that you can go about doing this is ensuring that all of our investments through the funds and that sort of things are dealing with companies, that haven't made any investment choices and things of that sort. So you have the ability through our pension funds, which that is, bigger investments, than a contract with whether Brinkman or International or whatever, has an issue where you can really make a difference. So as trustees on the pension funds, that's where you need to do stuff like that.
Thank you for your comments. So we have a motion, we have a second. This is for moving it forward as an ordinance. Do we have a consensus? We don't really need a vote for it, so... Okay. All right, very good. All right. Any...
Yeah, just to make a comment, that was a great idea, Mr. Maya said. Perhaps we can have either a separate document or incorporate a provision within the ordinance that points to our pension fund also.
Great. Okay, all right, so moving forward, we're gonna get back to the beginning of the agenda. Thank you so much, Councilman, for coming. Request for withdrawals, deferments, future agenda items. I have pulling item number 7, correct? Any other items you wish to withdraw, defer? I know that staff wants to pull, which item, hold on.
How about item number 11, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, I was waiting for Jordan to finish.
Yeah, we were gonna-
I spoke with Kelly and with staff. I think we should pull the item 11, which is a proposed first reading on vacation rental ordinance. The legislature is still dealing with it. There'll be some changes there. There's been some recent court happenings. So far, the Flagler County ordinance and decision is controlling for here. But Mike Miller and I are working on it. I think we can still get some more wordsmithing. We have to add some provisions on not grandfathering, but amortizing the time of the ordinance to give people who already have a contract in place some time. So I respectfully ask that we just withdraw that and bring it back in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's fine. Anything else on the items?
What, can you just go over what that is, or just close it down?
Just, number 11, we're not going to discuss, we're going to bring that back next month, and then, when we get to the consent agenda, someone wants to pull item number 7. Other than that, everything else is done. Hey,
Let me ask one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
I think, Bob, I didn't give me the dates, but I just want to confirm. Ron, I asked you the dates for day days, because I'll make sure.
8th and 9th, so we're good.
So we're good on that.
I mean, if we go late, we'll be
What time should be there?
You know, you have to be there early in the morning.
You mean 9 and 10?
9 and 10. I'm sorry, 9 and 10, but from the meeting, you go right to the point.
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's the Monday night meeting, and then we have
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Like 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
on days.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wondering.
I want to pull number 6 for discussion.
Number 6, you got it. Okay, number 6 is... Okay, all right. Moving on, we're going to get to council reports. We'll start on the end. Councilmember Morano. Ladies first.
Okay, I would like to address the mayor's message in the newsletter, asking that we all work as a team. I'm disappointed the way the council meetings have been going. I've complained many times on how they've deteriorated to the point that at the last meeting, one of our most respected citizens was police escorted out. In the newsletter, there was a veiled reference to Army Navy, and Mrs. Kennedy is the one who was removed. Her daughter is a well-respected colonel at West Point, and the reference to Army Navy bothers me. It's offensive that you actually went there, and maybe that's where the prejudice lies on you handling these meetings. We are all one team. We should be working for the citizens. We should be listening to what the citizens say, answering their questions. There's no reason not to answer a question unless maybe there is a reason not to answer it. I many times myself have been disrespected by the mayor, and I'm respectfully asking at this time that he be removed as the mayor and that the vice mayor take over, or we appoint another mayor who could handle the meetings, because it doesn't seem, each month, it seems to be getting worse and worse. I believe a true leader of a team doesn't need to ask for respect. They earn it, and they get it. That's it.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Councilmember. Moving on, Councilmember Reed.
Oh, are you making a motion?
I make a motion to remove the mayor and have Bruder or appoint a new mayor.
I would second it if it were in order and if I thought that there would be any support, but there wouldn't be. And I'll tell you, Jordan, I know it's been your dream to be the mayor here. You grew up here, and you've been running about 10 meetings so far, and I've been very respectful and hands-off and given you a lot of latitude. After the October meeting, I talked to the clerk about possibly getting some kind of a queuing system like they have in some towns, because it seems like you do kind of avoid this end of the dais. And whether it's intentional or not, maybe that would neutralize any perceptions. So she's still looking into that. That might be helpful. As far as the newsletters go, it's kind of like the comments that were made earlier about the library. Your style is very eye-heavy. And I was looking back over the last 2 years at various newsletters. I looked at, 3 or 4 that Bob Yaffe wrote as mayor. I looked at some of yours. While I was looking back, I looked at the April newsletter where you were holding the campaign sign for Isaac in there, and there's a pattern. And when you look at some of the other mayors, it's all about we and encouragement, and it's the message of the town. By the charter, you have 2 jobs. You preside over the meetings, and you're the head of the town for purposes of all the ceremonies. So the rest of it is a team. And at the last meeting, I know there was a little bit of boisterous activity, but there was an entire group here that went crazy and disrespected this whole process, not just the town, all of us. They came in costume, they mocked us, and nothing was done about that at all. They were allowed to just make a circus on this dais, and then someone who comes to every meeting, a resident, a taxpayer, and I think, she understands and she would be compliant. But, the heaviest of hands were used in her case, while this other circus was just allowed to run loose and do whatever they wanted. So, this is the kind of conversation when I have with someone, I would much prefer to have with you in private, but that's just not possible. By the Sunshine Law, we can't have it. So I would like to implore you to really be introspective and to discontinue promoting yourself, because some of your messages in the newsletter, it's almost like an ongoing campaign. Every single newsletter is like, vote for me because I did this, I proposed that, and that's not how it should be.
Well, that's not my intent, and let me just say for the record, because we never actually discussed this, but when Dr. Salhauser, came here, a couple months ago, and spoke for his agenda item, and you're right, I personally, I don't agree with what he did. I did not like what he did, but to be honest, we all took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and they have the freedom to dress wacky or however they wanted to dress, and they were within their right to speak within their allotted time. At no point did those individuals, speak outside of the allotted time. And to be honest, as much as I don't like what they said or how they presented themselves, they did so within the confines of their First Amendment rights. Where I have a problem is when individuals, and we're going to get to this because it's actually on the agenda, any individual that goes outside of what their First Amendment rights. And to be honest, every single person that has gone up and spoken since I've been the mayor has had their full time and has, and to the best of my ability, to be not just their full time, but without any interruption from individuals. What I find abhorrent is when individuals take it upon themselves to not only interrupt other individuals that are speaking during their allotted 2 or 3 minute respective times, but also other members of the council. When you have a council meeting that stops at 11 o'clock, you have a set allotment of time to do the people's business. And unfortunately, this one individual has been very effective in actually preventing the people's business. And, it brings me no pleasure, to be honest, if you ever ask staff, it's actually something that I'm not very proud of, the fact that, last council meeting was the first time in over 20 years that someone was removed. But to be honest, it was not the first time, where this was something that potentially could happen. Mrs. Kennedy's actions are not in the best interest as far as, public decorum. And I don't think, I think that any individual should respect that, the decorum of this room. And to make, and just to say one more comment, I kind of learned from the best, so to speak. I remember back in 2001, I think, I came up as a resident long before I was ever on the council, and I said some things that and was not proper in how I spoke. And I remember the mayor at the time, Bob Yaffe, actually stopped me and read the statement of decorum and corrected me as to how I should speak before this body. And I took his advice, and I've done so appropriately, and here you go, now I'm on the council. But I don't think anyone, I think we should have some leeway, but I think there comes a point in time where we should just be respectful. And I'm sorry that you think that there's some hidden message in the fact that I'm a big Navy fan. But at the end of the day, I think that the way we should do business is everyone should have their time, they should speak, and if there's something that can be discussed by staff should have the opportunity to respond, rather than taking the public's limited amount of time in the public setting to discuss it's very small matters. If it's something that's very serious or something staff can handle, I think it's more appropriate to talk in a public forum. That's just my opinion. Vice Mayor?
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, I thought you were going to make a comment.
I was going to make a comment. Do you want to make a comment first?
My one comment is, I think this whole debate is in really bad taste. I mean, I think it's counterintuitive, and I think we should move on with our meeting and take care of town business.
Absolutely.
I second that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
Well,
move
wait
on.
a second, I don't second that, okay? Because here we are, first of all, I've also been on this council for a while, and in all the years I've been here, I don't think that we've ever had such a disrespect among each other. On top of that, we, sometimes, the perception out there and the reality are two separate things, and we are the example of what should be decorum and understanding, and maybe sometimes we do step outside of line. So if we want people to have that kind of attitude, we need to show it first. And sometimes we don't show it to each other. And it's not one individual, it's just my feeling on it. As far as the people who came up here that day, the doctor and all that, I was mortified and shocked. And they should have been, removed also. Because the gentleman, the doctor, he talked out of line too. So what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. And everybody, it's the same thing. We're here, we're trying to do the very best we can for the citizens here. Whether you like it, you don't like how we vote, you don't like us personally, we need to show each other respect. We need to show respect to the audience, but in turn, we ask that the audience show respect to us and that we all follow the same guidelines. And that's all we need to do. And I think if we do that, whether we like each other or not, we can move forward and do the business of the town.
Thank you for your comments. Isaac?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure that they have stuff to report, but it's
Okay.
late.
Okay, very good.
The agenda.
All right, Josh?
All right, I'll just, start off on a different note. I'll try to do it that way. First of all, happy and healthy New Year to everyone. Going back to the standard things, I just want to let everybody know, I think Snow Day was fantastic. I want to thank staff for that. It worked out beautifully. I remember a lot of kids having a great time. And also, Parks and Recreation, I was at this last week. I think they've got some good ideas that will move forward, and I hope we can move a little quicker from here on out.
Other than wishing you all a happy new year, I'm ready to proceed with the agenda so that we can get through it this evening.
Great, anything? No. I have nothing. Happy New Year. Ron, Town Manager's Report.
I just have just a quick two things. I'd like to thank Bridget for really working on Snow Day. She did a great job. The train this year was a really nice added thing, and we added about, I guess, another 20 tons of snow, which really was nice. It was really a fine day. We met with the company that has a proprietary, or like they're the only ones who have it really. It's an inline check valve, and we're going to experiment and put them and install them in a couple of locations in town where traditionally when we get a very high tide or that king tide, that this will prevent the water from coming back into the street. Hopefully we'll have it installed in the next 6 to 8 weeks. They're made specifically for our type of situation. They've been being installed around the country, and They were very good, and they're not horribly expensive. So to do about 5 of them will be less than $10,000. Lastly, I do have a question for the council, and this is something that came up with our advertising policy. We had a situation where we had a resident who lives in town, long-time resident, has a business in another community, close by. And we wind up advertising, not realizing that the business was located in Surfside. Do we want to, we have the policy now, we only advertise Bay Harbor Island business, Bay Harbor Island businesses. In this case, I was just asking, is there some flexibility that I could have in a situation like this where you have a long-time resident that has a business very close to us? It's a real estate type of business where they serve the entire community here.
Does Surfside allow businesses from here to be,
Quite frankly, I can't answer that question. I don't know.
They do? Okay. They do? Okay.
well, I'm not for it, sorry, because we are such a small, I'm just gonna explain. We're such a small little business district that I think that every little advertisement really needs to go to our businesses, and if it's a real estate company, we have real estate companies within our town. Just, that's me.
Yeah, I think the spirit was to support the business district, the physical business district. So, I would be in favor of them having to have a business, in our business.
Okay, it makes it, listen, it's simple for us, but it's kind of a tweener.
I mean, I don't mind personally. I think that if the person, if they're residents of the town and they just happen to be like neighboring, like in Surfside, but they cater to Bay Harbor residents and Bay Harbor businesses, I'm not adverse to it, because I think that there's that crossover, because certainly if they're residents and they do business here, there's that connection. I mean, I'm not saying if somebody is all the way in city Miami, I think that, certainly if they're residents, I think that there should be some distinction there.
Yeah, but we're advertising our businesses. That's what it's, that's my opinion.
I'd like to say something too. On the agenda, I also have about having a business district committee because our business district needs help. So the last thing I think I would want to do is go ahead and cater to Surfside businesses and keep it local here, the advertising for our business district.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, it's got to be a Bay Harbor Island business, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, Jesus, thank you.
All right. Anything else? Hearing none, we're going to get to good and welfare. Francis Newhart. Let's go. Happy New Year.
Good evening. Francis Newhart, 1060 Kane Concourse. The other day, a council member asked me to say something positive about Bay Harbor Islands. Considering this question, I realized that during approximately the first 28 years of living in Bay Harbor Islands, where I worked, lived, and brought up my children, they were probably the happiest days of my life. This all changed on November 11, 2008, when the town mayor was first appointed as the town council member, and when I began experiencing blatant hostility, where both my husband and I had to hire an attorney to defend ourselves, and costing thousands and thousands of dollars from frivolous mistakes that were made on campaign treasurer reports. Although this particular council member's name would only come up during town elections, when he was very busy accusing candidates and wasting their time on frivolous wrongdoing, it appears that since he became the new appointed mayor in 2015, his new hobby has now become harassing council members and town residents at town council meetings. The most recent scenario occurred at the previous town council meeting on November 9th, when I was speaking on the topic where there was disruption of Dr. Miami Booty Incorporated during Good and Welfare, in which the town mayor ignored dismissing these people from the room. What was to follow, and possibly discriminating to the entire business district, was the town planner approving and the government allowing Dr. Miami Booty Incorporated to keep a cheap plastic primary sign stating Dr. Miami and an appointed business tax receipt to remain many months on the King Concourse stating retail and at the same time promoting a doctor's office. Over the years, the town has destroyed many merchants' livelihoods due to the town mayor possibly favoring others. And that includes targeting of a specific town resident who asking legitimate questions and then being escorted out of the chambers by the police. Thank you. And I'm very sorry, Councilwoman,
Thank you for your comments.
for not having him dismissed this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy. You're next.
Kathleen, I don't want to go now, I'll go later.
I'm sorry?
I'll go later.
Is it-
I want my daughter to go first.
You want your daughter to go? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
In regards to the considerations, request to be appointed for Parks and Recreation?
No, this is food and welfare. Oh, okay. Good.
Okay.
You don't want to speak for good and welfare?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Ms. Kennedy, you want to speak
I'm
for
going to put one on yours. Yeah.
Happy New Year.
I'm going to put one.
My name is Kathleen Kennedy, and at 9900 West Bay Harbor Drive. No way you can take my spirit away, Jordan Leonard. If you notice, when I send all the council people emails, I don't put you on there. Because, you know something, in order to get my respect, you have to give it. And many times I have reached across the aisle to you to try and get on the good side of you. We sat at Emilio's one day, and we decided to sit down and put our... You remember that conversation, Jordan? It's impossible with you. You just... You don't want peace and calm here. But you will not take my spirit away. I love this town, and I will always, always be here. The reason why I was escorted whenever, was because I brought to the council's attention what was going on in Opelika, and just 2 days later, here we are with breaking news, bankruptcy in Opelika and in Homestead, where you worked. And I think I hit a raw nerve. And here it is, and I'd like to put it into the record. And I'm only opening up the eyes of the council here. We are $24 million in debt, and we're spending money like crazy. And Jordan Leonard, it's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Watson, spent $50,000 to go and find a location for the town hall here in Bay Harbor. Is that correct, Mr. Watson?
Actually, we budgeted $50,000, which was approved by the council, to look to determine what would be in the best interests of the town to renovate Town Hall, or to actually relocate Town Hall to another location. So we're exploring 3 options, and we need a feasibility study to make sure that we make the best decision in the interests of the people and spending money. Renovating Town Hall and maybe adding to it will be a cost. Relocating all of our services to another location, whichever where it determines to be, and there's 2 that we're looking at, is also costs, and everything gets considered: construction, location, how it will fit in with the community, and they'll make those recommendations to us.
And we're 2 blocks long. And this is the trouble that Opelika got into when they found out, and I'm sure you've read it, lawyers on the dais, when they went to pick a town hall center, that they found out they were bankrupt. I'm not saying this is happening here, which caused me to ask, and thank you for your email, Mr. Watson, that we are $24 million in debt. How much money we have in 2 years? It was my understanding that it went for infrastructure. I don't see anything happening. I did go into the garage with some residents. You all got my email on that. I will personally call Durham to go and get a checkup on that and make sure that my grandchildren, who will be living here, get fresh air, and I'm sure you will too. I just don't like we're spending too much money, more police cars, really. I think we have a fine police department, but now I went to the garage the other day, I saw more SUVs up there than I saw anywhere else in this town. Where's all this money coming from? I mean, Ron, can you answer that for me, please? I have 16 seconds left.
Sure. Every year, the town passes a budget that is worked on probably 4 to 5 months. Every expenditure is approved and discussed at several meetings. We have been lowering our tax rate for the last several years. We're very frugal I would say, in my opinion, we don't frivolously waste money. And we're audited every year by an independent auditor, and we have come back with some of the highest marks for fiscal responsibility. Alan Short has consistently been recognized as doing a fantastic job. I think it's 15 or 17 years in a row that he's had this. We just don't spend money willy-nilly.
I think
My spending authority is less than $10,000.
I think we explained it.
Please, Isaac, as the CPA on the council, how do you suggest we reduce this $24 million debt that we have?
I'm sorry, it's Coon Welfare, Mrs. Kennedy.
We'll pay it down according to the terms of what our financing agreements are. This is incredibly common for a municipality to have bonds outstanding based on projects. So it's completely pedestrian, the fact that we have $24 million.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Lori Swedrow? Swedrow, I'm sorry. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Laurie Swedrow. I'm a resident of Surfside, 1300 Viscaya Drive, Surfside, Florida.
Welcome.
I'm also, thank you, proud mother of 3 children at Bay Harbor, Ruth K. Broad, Bay Harbor Elementary. Actually, my oldest graduated there and is now at FIU Mass. And I work in Miami, so I'm in Surfside, to go to Bay Harbor when I'm asked. One at rowing in Miami Beach, another one goes to Design Lab over at over the bridge. And my point for this is that I do always have the Bay Pass, received the Sun Pass. I am not the best at my bookkeeping. I was behind and noticed that in the month of October and November, I was charged $210 with Sun Pass when I purchased a Bay Pass for $250. My issue is I never received a notice, which I had received before from Bay Harbor, that the notice to renew was due. Town of Surfside does give notices. I received that notice to get my Town of Surfside pass renewed, but I didn't get one for Bay Harbor. And I'm asking in new business today, I don't know the order, but to request a refund or to do some type of compensation, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who pays for the Bay Pass and then the Sun Pass, and something's got to be done, because it's $250 for the year and then $220 for 2 months.
Ron, have you spoken to our staff?
I did, and I compliment you all. She was very lovely, but there was really nothing I could do, and Sun Pass said, there's nothing you can do, and I just can't believe that I can't get some type of reprieve, and also ask for, please request that you do notices. I did not receive a notice, and like I've said, I have received notices in the past. That's how I did my Bay Pass every year.
All right, Ron?
We haven't done notices for 2 years. And in a case like this, if there was a problem with the Sun Pass itself, we had, if a resident comes in or anybody comes in and they had bought an annual but didn't activate their Sun Pass, or they had one of the non-removable ones and ripped it off and thought they could move it around, we make an accommodation for that, because it's a misunderstanding. And if they have we give them their Bay Pass money back, or the annual pass back, that money. The difference is the responsibility of the person. And we do not refund if you use the Bay Pass. I keep saying Bay Pass. If you're using the bridge, we don't have a policy of doing refunds, and Sun Pass won't do it either.
Right, well, that's why I'm here. I have this Sun Pass transponder, And I thought I went through the system, I couldn't believe that it was time to renew in December. And so my bill in October, November was $210.
Actually, we don't get many of these. We do get many, we've had more people, about 20, that had the problem with the actual transponder, where they do a mistake. Actually, we don't have as many as you have, you say. Bridget is here, she could tell you probably more anecdotally. We're talking about less than 20, so.
I'm surprised, because what happened with the notices is my question.
Excuse me.
In the future, we do ask, when people sign up, we ask for their email address, and we're happy to send an email to anybody. But a lot of times, even with notices, we found that while we were sending out a lot of them, they were going to addresses to people who moved, that had relocated, and then even though we were sending it out, we were spending a lot of money doing that, and it still wasn't reaching the people, and they would come in anyway and say, they would come in late. Even then, not because we went to SunPass, we didn't do refunds then either. So, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
But when when I would have to go to the bridge before SunPass came in, I received notices, no problem. I always went in every year. I mean, I've been searching
I
13
understand,
years.
and the point I'm trying to say is, the notices we found didn't always get to everybody that they would move or they would relocate, and they would come in just as you are now, and we don't do those refunds, and we stopped doing the mailings 2 years ago. So it's really incumbent upon the person.
This is what I'll do. I mean, just because this is through good welfare, it's not traditional to talk about something. What I can do is we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting. If the council so wishes to change the policy, we can do so. If not, then, I mean, it seems like to me the council has to vote on this, right? This is not something that can be done administratively.
No, it would be, I would ask that,
Council would, okay.
vote on it, but it would be a pretty big financial impact.
If we can put it on the agenda for discussion, then we'll discuss it, and if we so choose, then you get your refund. If not, then...
Okay, well, I waited this long, I'm a working mother, I did do the system, I can't believe it's been 2 years.
When did you, Mrs. Swedrow, when did you finally renew your...
December 1st.
December 1st.
Yes, so my October and November credit card had SunPass $10 every time, totaling $210. It's like, why? And I was receiving notices before, so I don't...
But this is our first year with SunPass, right?
Yeah, this is the second year, actually. Yeah, second. So we'll put it on the agenda and we'll discuss it.
Okay, or request the police.
Sure.
Notify. Thank you very much.
No problem. Mr. Maya, you're up again for public comment.
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. The last few meetings, I have made a point of not taking 3 minutes during good and welfare. I figured that we had more than enough stuff on the agenda to go over, and if I needed to comment on anything, any specific item, I would do that. And I wasn't planning to do anything today either, quite frankly, until I saw the newsletter the other day. And I took it as a personal insult, that so much of that newsletter was devoted to the conduct of individuals here at the meetings. I thought it was personally insulting, that the front page of the newsletter would be devoted in good part to reiterating the rules of conduct, at meetings. I thought it was very childish. And thinking back, to that meeting, I'm not going to repeat, the things that Kelly said, which I thought were spot on, but to cloak the conduct of the king and his court under some kind of First Amendment, protection, I think is intellectually dishonest, and it's ridiculous. And right then and there, action should have been taken to stop it. There was no need for that. And that set the tone, quite frankly, for the rest of the meeting. It was disgraceful. I think back to the candidate forum that we had before the last elections. And there was a question that was asked, I know because I submitted the question, and it was asked, regarding why do we not have, or would you support the direct election of a mayor? And every person there said, yes, we would support the direct election of a mayor. There's no reason why we shouldn't have direct election of mayor. If you want to be mayor, run for mayor. You lose that election, you lose the election. You want to come on council, then you have to run for council. But there's no reason why this town, the citizens of this town, should not have a direct input on deciding who leads the town. Okay? And each and every one of you that were there at that candidate forum said, yes, I support the direct election of mayor. Not with any codicils, well, only if I get a little petition, from so many people to change the charter, blah, blah, blah. No. Each and every one said, we support the direct election of mayor. And I think, the time of, well, it's my turn to be mayor, is over. Because, who's next? Ms. Bruder, next mayor, okay, then, Ms. Reed, are you going to be vice mayor? Are they going to appoint her as mayor, 4 years from now if she's elected again? And she wants it, and so on and so forth. This notion of picking the mayor should be left with the citizens. Thank you.
Jeff Costa? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, maybe. Does anybody have any tongues? I came down here basically to speak about what did happen here last week, because I was enraged when I kept listening to it over the TV. When I criticize somebody on the council, I try to use a little bit of good humor when I do it. But what Mrs. Kennedy said the other day, there was no humor involved, nothing. I found it to be a direct attack on our mayor, and I don't think it was called for. Kathleen Kennedy spoke about me in reference to Terry D'Amico last year or the year before, doesn't know me. And I think people who come up and run their mouths shouldn't. And I think you all ought to lighten up a little bit about the doctor was here in costume. Sit back. It was humorous. They didn't disrupt the place. It was interesting. As far as the rentals go and the vacation rentals, we're having a problem at our building now. I've reversed my feeling about it. I didn't want to have that. We have people that are on Airbnb, and we're trying to rectify that. As far as moving the City Hall, I wish you guys would look at buying our building and buying the contract from 3P. You don't have to tear the building down. The people who want to live there, you could rent the apartments to them. You'll have a park, and it would be an excellent situation. I really think you should take care of that. I'd also like to know what's happening with the landmark situation on the island, if anything's happened with that. Does anybody know what happened to Mitch Novak?
Yeah, Ron can clue you in. If you could just give Ron a call tomorrow.
Okay. And the other thing is, as far as the bridge goes, I've given Kelly Reed some diagrams about cantilevering a walkway on the side of the bridge, which would not affect its weight. And there are people that do that, and it is possibly feasible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Costa.
The question he asked about the landmark? And you told him to ask Ron?
Historic preservation. So,
Of his building?
no, just in general.
Oh, of the whole...
All right. So we're done with public comments. We're going to get to the...
One more.
One more, okay. Linda Zilber. Mayor Zilber, come on up.
As a former mayor,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and whatever has happened before this year, good, bad, or indifferent, it's time to move on and do everything for our citizens and our town. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, committee reports. Mr. Manager?
Item 1, consideration of a request for appointment to Parks and Rec Committee by Ms. Kathleen Kennedy. She has a letter of intent or an interest.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. We normally don't have discussion on appointments for committee reports. I think just to be fair, if we're going to start allowing people to speak during appointments, I think the standard should be that we should allow all people to speak on committee appointments. So is that the council's purview moving forward?
Well,
She would have come for good and welfare. She was there. If she knew she couldn't speak, she did mention it.
Did we have an advertisement soliciting requests for committees?
Did we? No, we didn't. Oh.
So do we have a policy of having a rolling appointment? Anybody that wants to be on a committee could just,
what's the policy?
Call Ron and say, here's the letter of intent, I want to be on the committee?
I think we've always kind of been open to the fact that we want more citizens involved, no matter what.
There's a vacancy.
I think we've always had a policy that we want more citizens involved, regardless. If there's a certain time of year when we'll look at it, but if there's an open spot, then it's open to whomever comes up to us. That's always been my understanding.
There was just a gentleman appointed, Ian Sachs, didn't he just come in, say he wanted to be on, and he
If
was
there's an open
on?
spot, then I have no problem, taking a look at that open spot.
Right, I agree. If we have vacancies on the committees and we've had a lack of interest for some time in the past, why not fill the vacancies?
All right, so, we have a motion, a second. I guess so, we'll let you speak.
Yeah.
All right, come on. Sure. Happy New Year.
I guess you guys weren't expecting me to be here, huh? This is the first time I've actually approached you all, so Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy
Some
New Year.
faces look familiar. My name is Yasa Legrand. Everybody knows me as Yaya. I'm a resident at 9900 West Bay Harbor Drive. Lived here for about 15 years. Very happy to be a resident here. And I'm actually very sorry for the fact that we all can't get along. So hopefully what I'm about to say about my mother will lighten up a little bit and I would like some eye contact if possible, because it's particularly you I want to address, Mayor, because I would like to see if somehow by the time that I leave this meeting that we can find some common peace with all of this. Okay, I'm here because of the committee report and the consideration to appoint my mom for the Parks and Recreation. I was actually giving her winning speech, but what I wanted to tell you, and I'm going to kind of leave it verbatim because I don't want to leave anything out. And if I go over the time limit, please bill me. Okay. First of all, good evening to you all, and thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of my mother. And one of the reasons why I think you should elect her as on the committee for the Parks and Recreation is because generally I like to keep a low profile, but today I'm here for what I thought was a special occasion, and I'm here to speak on behalf of my mom. From 46 years old, I've lived with my mom from day one, so if anybody knows her, it's me, okay? I'm here before her peers, some of her friends, and obviously the politicians that are here before me. But, Mom, I just want you to know, no matter what anybody says, I'm very proud of you, okay? And nobody knows my mother more than I do. Nobody knows my mom more than I do. I have lived with her my whole life. I know her story. Mom, you are a survivor. Okay, you are worldly. You are a caring friend. Okay, you are an activist, which is probably what kind of, gets you into this part of conflict with some of the people here. But I know where your heart is. You are a beloved grandmother. She is a beloved grandmother. She is an unconditional and understanding mother. Okay, and there's absolutely nothing that I would do for my mother. And Mom, I just want you to know too that you're also my hero. And I am a success story. I'm a retired police officer of 23 years. I retired with the Miami Police Department successfully. And I am now a wine entrepreneur. And the reason why I feel that I am this person today is because as a child, I have seen my mother become the woman that she was over the years. Mom, I just want you to know, by watching you and your passion to give to the less unfortunate, can never ever be denied. I have followed in your I've followed in my mother's shadow, and as a kid growing up, all I've ever wanted to do was be like my mother. Okay? therefore I feel compelled to mention a few things about her accomplishments, okay, along with the reasons why I think that she would serve this community very well, despite how personal feelings somehow get in the way. So I think that if we look beyond our personal feelings and understand my mother's passion, she would be very fit to be on the committee. Okay, just to mention a couple of things that my mom has done throughout her life, whether it was finding adopted children in Guatemala and finding homes in the United States. I know we tend to look for, the garbage on people, and we tend to try to see what we can grab up on people, but if you search long and hard, you would find that there's a lot of good things that my mom has done that's been recorded as well. And that's finding homes for adopted children in Guatemala. It's also whether it was being the president of the Sunflower Society, raising thousands and thousands of dollars for children's hospitals. This is all recorded. This is all stuff that you can find if you read about it. And if you want to look for the good stuff, it's there too. Okay? And also, I find it very intriguing that people choose to seek and dig on how we can hurt people, but we need to stop that. We got to start finding ways to understand people, and you'll see that all people are looking for is a little bit of guidance, a little bit of respect, and it goes a long way, and it's a two-way street. We can certainly give all this attention. Mom, it's okay. We can certainly give all of you in this room many examples of why, okay, and what makes my mom all these wonderful things, okay? But I figured I respectfully will ask those of you, particularly those who don't get along with my mother, or just want to come up here and say something about my mother without taking her outside and speaking to her personally, is to give her a level of respect. Put her to the side. If you have something to say to her, bring her to the side, and she will be happy to confront your problems and your issues that you have with her. Okay? But she cares about this community. No one that I personally know cares more about this community than my mother. If the way that she presents it sometimes is never sending the right message, okay, it's not something that we should be judging. Okay? It's not something we should be whispering about. I think that we all know that my mom cares about this community.
Have you spoken to your mother about this?
Yes.
Did you sit down in front of her recently and said, you know what, I'm going to tell the council, not to dig up dirt on people, and not to, write letters to everybody on the council and the, and the ethics commission on every, crazy thing I can find? Did you talk to her about that?
No, I've only talked to her about the reason why I'm here today.
So theoretically, in a perfect world, this is how we should treat your mother. When she's pretty much treated almost everybody, aside from a few people, the exact opposite way on the council.
Right, but hold on, no, I'm not, I told you, can I just answer him real quick? I'm going to keep it very simple.
Please.
To answer your question, I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm only here to talk about the future.
So you're saying
hold
the future is going to be better?
Hold on.
Let her finish.
Hold on. But what I'm trying to, yes, I know the future will be better, and you need to be positive and not negative, but what I'm trying to tell you is this, okay? You have a mother, right? Okay?
No, I don't have a mother.
Well, how'd you get here?
His mother.
Okay,
my mother's in heaven right now.
Okay. We will all be in heaven one of these days. Okay, but we do all have a mother. Our mothers gave birth to us. Okay, and I think that you would be standing right where I am right now, regardless of the circumstances and regardless of the personal issues. Okay, it's about giving people chances. It's about, in this particular reason why I'm here today, it's about her being a part of the committee for Parks and Recreations, because she will make the right decisions based on her passion for this community, not based on the differences that you guys have had in the past. And I think that somebody said it best. It's about moving forward. Okay, it's about changing. It's not about your personal feelings about someone. Okay, this is about giving somebody the position that is good for the community.
Okay. Thank you so much for your comments, I have to say. Very well put. And, so,
Thank you.
Francis Newhut, you wish to speak on the committee report.
Francis Newhut, 1060 King Concourse. Yeah, that was wonderful. I can never speak that well of Kathleen, but I believe what she had said. I really think that she puts in her time, and she does a lot for our community, even though there's some who disagree up there. I mean, every one of us has better things to do than get upset with what's going on in this town right now. And yes, we should move on, but we should move on correctly. The reason I'm standing here is because you did mention committees, and I think that we have to examine who we put on these committees. Of course, Kathleen is a resident. She lives here, and we know that she will do an excellent job. But we just had an incident with the Planning and Zoning Board, where one of the members, for 2 years, has been on that committee. He's not a resident, and he was put on because he had a business on the Kane Concourse, and and he never told anyone for 2 years that he had moved. He missed 6 meetings last year, and we had our town attorney, not Mr. Sherman, but the other attorney, when we talked about it at that particular meeting, this gentleman said he would resign, and Mr. Simone said, you don't have to. Everything is okay. And I don't understand tonight why this is not being brought up, because we have issues in planning and zoning on the board there, and they make decisions for our town. And I don't understand why, if you're going to talk about committees, why you don't have standards.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. And I think this should have been discussed this evening, since they're having another meeting in another week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right.
Excuse me, if
Yeah.
you're done with public comment, can we pull my item regarding having a business district committee?
We haven't finished the appointment.
We're still talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any comments in regards to this?
Maybe before.
That's one thing, because it's all this, to me, my vote comes down to one thing. Ms. Kennedy, can you come up for one moment? I just one question to ask you.
That's great.
That's it. That's all I want, and then there's none of this, the rest of it doesn't matter to me. I appreciate what your daughter said. I have one question. I'll take you at your word, okay? I trust your word if that's what you're going to give here. I have one question, very simply. Are you going to try and do this to do for the best of the town and for the purpose of helping the citizens, or is this something because of the controversy you have with Jordan? That's all.
Always for children and seniors.
No, for everybody.
Be my
But
usher.
it's not just children and seniors, it's everybody.
Everybody, black, white, green, yellow.
I have your word, that's what you're going to do?
Josh, you know better than that.
No, I'm asking
For
you.
everybody.
I'll take your word.
For everybody. I just told the mayor that nobody can take my spirit away.
No, I know, but it's not about the mayor. If I have your word...
It's for everybody.
Then you have my support on
I
that.
have nothing personal against anybody up here when it comes to the Parks and
If I
Rec.
have your word, you have my support.
I just did.
All right.
I just did.
Yeah, I just want to, I want to say two things. I apologize, Yaya, for interrupting you. I would defend my mother just the way you defend your mother. But I for one have suffered the wrath of your mother. Your mother has worked incredibly hard on trying to embarrass me personally in any way she can, on every opportunity that she can. And I think she's done the same thing for other members, of this council, depending on how the water's flowing or how, we voted on a separate issue. And, it appears that she does have some support from the council for this, and she might very well get approved for this position. But, I want to just I want to go on the public record and make it very, very clear that once Mrs. Kennedy is appointed to the Parks and Recreation Committee, she's going to have to comply with the Code of Ethics like we have to comply with it. Plus, she is now going to be speaking not only as Kathleen Kennedy resident of Bay Harbor Islands, she is going to be speaking with Kathleen Kennedy, member of the Bay Harbor Islands Planning Parks and Recreation Committee. So, think long and hard, how you're going to vote. Yes, I'm sure most of you will vote yes. I will not vote yes. But, remember that now Kathleen Kennedy's correspondence might very well have a little tag on the bottom that says Kathleen Kennedy, Parks and Recreation Committee, Bay Harbor Islands. So
Is that a veiled threat?
no. It is absolutely not. No, it is, it is purely factual.
Certainly sounds like not moving
It is purely
forward.
factual.
No, I'm sorry, but we just...
It is purely
Right, do you want
I just have one comment. I took grief a couple of years ago for refusing to take public comment on committee appointments, and this is, and I'm glad that I took the grief because this whole discussion was entirely inappropriate. We've never done that in the past. We look at the resumes, we look at what people submit, we vote on them. There are standards that committee members as well as P&Z members and council people have to comply with to serve our community. And as long as they uphold those standards, there's no reason why anybody can't be appointed.
Okay, you want to vote?
Let's vote.
All right, do you want to...
Do you want to do a poll vote, or do you want to do...
Let's do a poll vote.
Let's do a poll vote, please. So was
there a motion?
I make a motion to accept Kathleen Kennedy on the Parks.
It was already moved.
I'm sorry, it was.
Yes,
It was.
okay, but I'm
I'm sorry. Councilmember Yaffe.
For.
Councilmember Sarver.
Against.
Councilmember Reed.
For.
Councilmember Morano. For. Councilmember Fuller.
For.
Vice Mayor Bruder.
For.
Mayor Leonard.
Against.
Passes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Yahya, those are some very kind words, by the way. So, absolutely. All right, moving on, we're going to get to consent agenda. Pulling item number 7, anything else? Carrying item 6. So, can I have a motion and a second for the consent?
I'll move it.
Second.
All right, poll vote, please.
Councilmember Fuller.
For.
Councilmember Morano.
For.
Councilmember Reed.
For.
Councilmember Sarver.
For.
Councilmember Yaffe.
For.
Vice Mayor Bruder.
For.
Mayor Leonard.
For. All right, passes. Item number 6, Councilmember Salver.
Yeah, I have a comment on the October meeting. I know that it was scheduled for a date that you chose, which was on a Thursday, October 13th, I think. I think it would be easier for my personal schedule anyway, I for one, since, Thursday's a random day, the residents are not having, they're not used to having a council meeting on a Thursday anyway. I would request that for my schedule, that you would make it on the following Monday night instead of the Thursday. Is that
The 17th?
Yeah, whatever day.
17th.
Yeah, the 17th.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I would agree with that. Any comment against that?
Let me ask, do we know, no, that's fine with that.
Because it's right here.
No, my only other question was, as far as what I was saying before, I'm just curious, the date, what time are we supposed to have that?
Wait, listen.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, you're talking about like right now.
I thought we all agreed on that.
Yeah.
Change the date, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we're fine on the other one.
Wait, the Monday and Tuesday was Yom Kippur, you said?
Monday was, a holiday, Columbus Day,
Columbus
that
Day,
we were
Yom
asked
Kippur.
to not to schedule anything on Columbus Day before, and then Tuesday and Wednesday was
Yeah.
another conflict. So
Yeah.
that's why it ended up being Thursday.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Yeah, Monday, I think Monday night might be it.
Okay, very good. All right, do we need a separate vote on that?
No.
Okay, good. Number 7.
So my other question
Sorry.
is, seriously, as far as what time are we supposed to be? Do we know which time we're supposed to be at days for?
It's the next day, right?
Yeah, I know.
Next day.
Are we supposed to be there at 4:35 in the morning?
You get there, the plane takes off around 8 o'clock, but they ask you to get there a little earlier.
I guess 8 o'clock we can do. As long as it's not a 5:30.
All right, number 7.
Item 7, consideration and approval of a proposal from Online Solutions, Citizen Serve for software upgrade to the code compliance, building permits, business tax receipt programs, and other miscellaneous databases.
Councilmember Morano, did you pull this item? Okay, we'll wait for you. No problem. No problem.
I wanted to know that now, does the public have access to this software, or, I mean, is it they?
No.
So this
No.
is strictly just for the town?
This is the town,
Only town users?
But that doesn't mean you can't make a request for some information and we would take it out.
As a
but-
citizen, I'm talking about can a
So
citizen?
this new software will give the public a lot more access than what they have now.
Okay,
It will allow you to check permits online and do a number of things that we're not able to do at the moment.
Thank you.
Right, I had the same question, Doris, yeah.
Okay, good. The other thing was, it says that this was a budgeted expenditure.
Yes.
We increased the IT 20,000, I think, in the budget, right? Is this for 20,000? I hope we're going to do more IT work.
Isn't the clerk
Could be part of that.
This was totally separate line item.
This was in the
For- just
Okay,
for
so there's
this.
another
For the building.
20,000 that we're going to improve our other...
Yeah, this,
Okay.
has nothing to do with
This
it.
was on your side, on the clerk's budget, correct?
No, this was, building, code,
Oh,
everything.
you took it piecemeal through all the departments? Okay.
This was,
All right.
but it was a separate item for this software.
Okay, no problem.
I have one other question. So, and after the initial cost of implementing this, it's $18,000 a year, and
Yes.
like, what do we get for the $18,000? I mean, it's just basically a license fee? Is that...
Licensing fee, and I guess some,
This is a cloud-based, so it will be storage. Everything is, we wouldn't need to maintain the servers or anything like that. It would be them maintaining the servers. So it's actually gonna save some money with some of the IT issues that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none. Public comment, Victor Maya?
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. I am always skeptical when I see items come up on the agenda without any type of competitive bid or any type of comment with respect to other experiences. I certainly understand and agree that the building department and systems need to be upgraded. They are all antiquated, and no question at all about it. My only question is I didn't see anything or read anything that this particular software, is in use in this town, this town, this town, this town, this town. That's very good, whereas this other town uses this something else or whatever. We don't have anything to go by other than they came by and they ran the systems by our group, and our group says, yeah, this is good and this will work for us. So I'm a little bit skeptical, when there's nothing else to compare to, because I also didn't pick up, that this was, specifically budgeted for. So that was the other thing, that was a concern of mine. The other thing is that, just sort of technical stuff as you're going through the documents, the start dates, end dates, things of that sort, and the licenses are all messed up, and all of that really needs to be cleaned up, by town attorney, in terms of all of that. And there's no provision, to say 12 users, is that a minimum base that we're required to run for the entire time? Can we go up, down, what if we want less or more, and there's no provision in there for changing that. In other words, it doesn't give the town any flexibility. Finally, I just throw this out in general, the system helps. I think it was 3 different departments, and I didn't notice anything with respect to HR systems, and whether, the town's HR systems, need to be upgraded as well, and whether this type of software, whether I know there's people, there's tons of HR type software, whether, the software that we have is good enough, and if we're already going ahead and changing the software in these other departments, if this company also has HR software that might help us or benefit us, maybe, to do it all at the same time is something that you might want to consider, because it's very important in terms of compliance issues, to make sure that your HR software really is up to test. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Do you want me to?
wanna say something?
Yes, actually, yes, there's flexibility in how many users you can add. If you don't use all the licenses, you can take it away. They have many different modules. I forget how many clients in Florida, but they have quite a number of clients in Florida. And when you're looking at something like this, you're not looking at apples to apples. There's different companies that offer different types of software that accomplish different tasks. We did look at several. This was closer to what we wanted. It is being used in other cities, larger, smaller than ours. It is customizable. It is definitely going to be easier to use for the staff. We all sat in, and it wasn't just 3 departments, there's more than that. We all sat in, we all had a web conference, and we asked tons of questions about what we want done, when we wanted to do it, how we wanted to do it, what kind of reporting we can do. It definitely can do a lot better than what we have, and we can add other modules as we go along. So we can always, we're going to try it out. We're going to start with this because this is where it's needed the most, building code, business tax, and then we're going to continue to, and anything that we have that's an old access database or something like that, eventually we want to make sure that it's included in this.
Do we need a poll vote on this one?
And what about the question about the bid? Why wasn't it bid?
Because they're not apples and apples. As I said, we looked at different companies that provide the same services from different cities, and they don't all provide the same thing. So we went with the one that is closest to what we need done.
Let me ask, I'm sorry. Let me ask one other question, because the only one thing, how easy is it to migrate away from it? What I mean by that is, a lot of times when you buy a software program or anything along those lines, let's say you use this program for 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and then 10 years from now you say, you know what, I found something much better, I want to go over there, but we're prohibited because of the cost, because we have to be able to still access those documents for public records. I want to make sure we're not looking at a bill 10 years from now that's unbelievable or impossible to migrate to something else. So anything in the contract, I'd want to make sure there's something for, at the very least, a continuing license on there if we discontinue, to at least access all documents, even if it's on the old system.
Yeah, it's all data. I mean, it's the same thing we have, the same issue we have now with the data that's in PT-WIN and in the building department software. They're imported, and they use the data, and if we had to move away from this, it's a cloud-based system, but if we had to move away from this, there's definitely...
No, I know, but you see, a lot of these, the way they set it up with this, I mean, I'm very familiar with this, they'll set it up so that you can do it, but to reset all of the links and everything in there, you'll be there forever, and we won't be able to comply with records requests, we won't be able to comply with anything. So I just want to make sure something in the contract allows for a residual, let's say, license to still keep an old copy there to still access documents in the event we eventually cancel it. Maybe not use new features, but still be able to access old documents.
I'll check on it, but I'm pretty sure that it's a standard. I mean, everything is written in a certain base, in a certain language, and we just extract. We will keep a backup.
But it's only...
IT will keep a backup of the data that's housed in this, but we won't have the responsibility of maintaining the service.
Okay. All right, so we need a poll vote for this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, do you have a motion, a second? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second? I never get called, I'm second?
I'll second.
All right, very good. All right, poll vote, please.
Councilmember Yaffe?
4.
Councilmember Sauber?
4.
Councilmember Reed? 4. Councilmember Morano? 4. Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder?
4.
Mayor Leonard?
4.
Thank you.
All right, item number 8.
Consideration and approval of an ordinance on second reading requested by Councilmember Yaffe, amending Section 5-19-2 of the Town Code relating to driveways in the single-family district.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Bay Harbor, Islands, Florida, amending the town's code of ordinances as related to driveways in the RD Single Family District, amending Section 519.2 of the Building and Construction Code, provide regulations for security gates at driveway entrances for homes along King Concourse, to modify regulations for allowable driveway width, and to modify the list of permitted and prohibited driveway materials, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing an effective date.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, great.
Question.
Yeah?
Marlene, when was the last time Bay Harbor Islands held an LPA meeting?
About a year and a half ago, I think.
Okay, so, how can this ordinance have language in it that says, whereas a public meeting was held before the local planning agency?
You keep leaving that in, I keep telling him to take it out.
So you have to remove it out of there.
But that's a Scribner's error, right?
But I guess I was expected
It's not required.
if I can, is it required to have an LPA meeting for this?
For certain things it is, like for comprehensive plan issues, but not for
But
this.
not for this.
Not for this.
So you need to strike that line.
Right.
I think Michael needs to clean it up.
So I make a motion I read to strike out.
Yeah. Put the strikeout to the LPA.
Uh-huh.
Just again, for the record, it might behoove this august body to have an LPA meeting where we can, and the agenda would consist of all these, little ordinances, so we can really discuss them in the proper forum, because all the ordinances that we're passing on this, whether it's first reading or second reading, on this agenda, I meant, relate to our building regulations, so it might behoove us to have, even if it's ceremonial or for informational purposes only, have an LPA meeting.
It's not a bad idea.
So we have at least an LPA meeting in the records.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So do I.
So can you just poll the council to schedule that, Marlon?
Sure.
Thank you so much. All right, so we have a motion, a second, public comment, Francis Newhart? I'm sorry.
Since I didn't.
Yeah.
This ordinance was prompted to a large extent by driving around the town and looking at a lot of the new construction, and perhaps because the style of architecture has changed, we didn't encounter this in the past, where a lot of the front yards became concrete courtyards with very minimal landscaping, and I personally don't like that, and I thought that we needed to take a look at our ordinance and do what is necessary to make sure that we have as much landscaping as possible in the front yards. We do have certain requirements, I think, in the side yards and elsewhere, and also to reduce the amount of, concrete and the stark-looking, properties. And, if you drive down West Broadview Drive, you see a couple of those in some of the other streets. So, it's my hope that this ordinance will, be responsive to that and increase the amount of green space and the amount of landscaping and so forth, some of these newer projects. And I think it also gives the Planning and Zoning Board the ability to perhaps require some additional types of landscaping when they're looking at these projects. I think we were sort of hamstrung, so to speak, by the failure of our ordinance to take into consideration this new style of architecture. That's it.
No, good point. Mrs. Newhart, you're up again.
Francis Newhart, 9920 West Broadview Drive. I also live on the West Island, which this relates to me. And I wrote a lot of people about the issue with this particular ordinance. And first of all, at the last meeting, the vice chair had mentioned that he would like a workshop. And I know that most of you do not go to these meetings, but there are problems when the site plans are given. I have some examples here. You get the Miami-Dade property tax appraisal map and everything, and they give you the dimensions of the size of the lots. And then you come to a council meeting, and it's not, and instead of 1.5 acres, there's 1.5 lots. It's saying 2 lots, or they're saying there's a pool existing when there's no pool existing. These things all relate to the percentage of landscaping on the property. And yes, the residential district does not have flex setbacks where the ordinance can be changed very easily, like on the East Island. We don't have that. So the question that we're really facing right now is we've got a lot of properties on the West Island that are looking for their their COs now, and they're not to code. And I would like to know, are we passing this ordinance so that they can get their COs? Because obviously, if you look at these houses, especially Councilman Yaffe did drive around and notice that they are not in code. Although he's saying that there's no landscaping, basically there's no code there. Who's there to tell people that they're not in code? I mean, is that the job of the Director of Code Compliance, or who's in charge of all this, besides not putting their building permits in the front so people know what's going on here, especially consideration to the neighbors when they're encroaching into their properties, or the lights, or the grass, or the trees are being knocked down? I mean, we should have building permits, and they should be exposed to the neighbors so they can see what's going on, and we don't have that, and that's a requirement, by the way. So the question I have, and I don't know which one of you would like to answer that, if these houses are not to code and they're asking for their CO, who is responsible?
Building official.
Planning and zoning?
Building official handles that.
Building official.
Without getting into specifics, I mean, we've addressed the
Well, I have
the
specifics.
new hut.
I have
You asked a
specifics.
question, I'm responding.
Okay. Well, you said you drove around, so you saw these
Do
houses.
you want me to respond? Because I'm not going to have this banter back and forth. The town administration is well aware of a couple of properties, or at least one property in town, which was not built in accordance with code. There is no certificate of occupancy been issued, and
But have they
there are
asked for it?
consequences for that failure, and the town is addressing it. So to answer your question, the town administration does address any property that is not built in accordance with the plans that were presented to planning and zoning. Ron, you want to...
Yeah, I'd like to just add to that, because...
The actual footprint of the building that's not in
no,
compliance?
there's-
I think
I don't want to
we
discuss
should
that
be
case.
limited what we should say, because this is potentially going to come before.
I really just want to address something, so everybody here has a comfort level. In the past, multifamily buildings would go to Durham with the fire department, and they would make changes because of a fire regulation, life safety. And in the past, a modification could be made to the plans, and it wouldn't have to go back to planning and zoning. That has since changed over the last, I'd say, 2 years. I might be off a little bit in a few months, but roughly 2 years. Mostly these things were areas where a fire truck had to get close, so they'd have to modify something. But particularly, and Mike could probably address this also, it was egress from parking structures where they would have a stairwell that would be in the setback. In the past, that was acceptable, but now, these types of changes all go back to planning and zoning, and they make modifications to somehow get that stairwell inside the building footprint, as the original design of the building. Going forward, it was also now, going forward to address these things, because there was one particular property, there was another issue that came about, and it had something to do with the backup generator. We initiated a zoning review from a spot survey, when the building starts the foundation goes in, to make sure they're within their setbacks, about halfway through to make sure that they're not going off the plan, that they're staying in the plan. And I'm not talking about building code, I'm talking about the zoning, whether the building is being built the way it was approved at planning and zoning. Any modifications have to come back to planning and zoning, and many of them have had to do that. And of course, the final inspection is the CO inspection. And if you have done something that fails, you don't get your CO, and then you wind up having to somehow address it, and, there's different ways that is addressed. We initiated that on the home island because a lot of the construction there also. In this particular case, that I won't bring up the person because they are going to be in front of you in the next month. The building started before this process really was started. They did go off the plan when the final inspection for CO was done. several months ago, at least 6 or 7 months ago. It was addressed or it was brought to their attention, and we have been kind of, going through what we have to do legally to get them to comply. We have met with their attorney, we've had sit-downs with the building department, our planner, our town attorney. They're choosing to come, to exercise their right to come in and ask for variances. You will have our opinion on that, and then you will have to make your decision based on that. It came actually from Mr. Yaffe, that he picked up that there was an inordinate amount of driveway, concrete work that was done in front of the building. And clearly, it was without landscaping and violated our code. And it also violated their plan. Because it's like the last thing that goes in, that's why there's not. But that's, just so you know, we are reviewing.
This doesn't grandfather anybody, if anything, it makes it more stringent, which is what our intent is.
Mayor, I apologize for asking the questions. I will just read this into the minutes. I gave it to some of the council members, and obviously listening. So I will do this.
Your 2 minutes are up.
Yeah, you had 2 minutes.
Okay. What is council possible?
It's not working, but 2 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, well, we don't know.
Okay, no, I gave it to you, and it's not being addressed. And what it is that, number one, the town, the vice chair, I have a minute, excuse me.
I'm sorry, it's
2 minutes.
I'm sorry, it's just...
2 minutes that you had, and it expires.
Excuse me, I don't have a clock in front of me. I thought it was unfair for him to ramble for 3 minutes
It was your 2 minutes, and
Excuse me.
you didn't speak during your 2 minutes.
You know, you could have told me that.
It was right there.
Where?
Right, you see the
Mrs. Newhart, we can't see it, you can. I
I
don't know how
didn't
it's
see
not
it.
working.
I didn't see it.
You know,
But more
You're saying the
importantly...
timer doesn't buzz.
The timer's working, just the beep.
Okay, fine. The only issue I have here...
We need to see
the timer.
We need to see the timer, and we gotta get a buzzer, and we gotta get it by next month.
This is terrible. This is not fair.
Mrs. Newhart.
There's a document you have there that you want to put into the record?
Just put it
I
on.
gave it to the council members, and obviously, maybe they'll discuss it.
All right, we're done,
But I
Mrs.
must
Newhart.
tell you, I'm,
Thank you.
just as a conclusion, Jordan, it'll take 3 seconds, okay? This particular ordinance seems to be, and it appears to be, being passed, so this particular and others will get their CO. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion here? None, poll vote, please.
Councilmember Yaffe.
4.
Councilmember Staver.
4.
Councilmember Reed. 4. Councilmember Morano. 4. Councilmember Fuller.
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder.
4.
Mayor Leonard.
4. Great. Number 9, please.
Item 9, reconsideration and approval of an ordinance on first reading requested by Mayor Leonard, amending Section 11 of the Town Code entitled Land Development Regulations to create a new green sustainable building program.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Bay Harbor Islands, Florida, amending the town's code of ordinances, amending Chapter 11 entitled Land Development Regulations, creating a new Article 5 to be entitled Sustainable Building Program, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Great. Great, a motion, a second. Very briefly, this is coming back, staff made some changes to make it more in favor to the purview of Bay Harbor. What we had previously was literally verbatim from the village of Pinecrest, so this is more based on council comments, and it also includes a more detailed analysis of the tax and also fee implications. And if you look at all the examples, it shows a revenue positive impact. So in other words, in every single example that they show, yes, we're giving the person who puts out the building or home, a percentage of their fees back, but at the end of the day, they're going to be paying more in taxes, and because their property's going to be worth more, so we're actually going to have a revenue positive, and it's going to be consistent every year. So it's actually a win-win to have greener buildings.
Sorry, excuse
Sure.
me. There's a light out there that they keep flashing.
A light?
Someone's taking a picture.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it, sorry. So I hope that we can approve this and we can start building some greener homes. Does anyone have any questions?
You addressed the two issues I wanted last time. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah.
What about town construction?
That was one of the two things I asked that be addressed. It is addressed.
It is addressed. Yeah.
It's addressed in the changes.
But what is it addressed to? This says that the town is going to strive to achieve, that is going to attempt to
We always,
achieve. I mean, but wait a minute. Well, I mean, if we're so going to be green, then why aren't we putting it on ourselves to be green?
well, you'd be surprised at how much we do already. Just every light in this building has changed to LED light-saving technology. This council has approved... No.
The one's right above it.
Yeah. The council has approved going to LED lights.
Those are LEAD.
Great.
No, but, I mean, this is for building a new structure, not...
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there can come a time when, to comply, let's say you want to build a green building, that the cost would outweigh the benefit.
Right.
The town has to make a decision, do we want to spend $1 million more to build a building, and that would affect the tax or building the building, or not, or do something as best we can. So we always try to build very efficient buildings, or, our garage would be an example of that, and that's why to put a mandate, I think would handcuff us going forward. Not that we build a lot of buildings, but, and that was my...
We're looking at building possibly another town hall, so it's very relevant.
Well, but I think sorry, go ahead.
I have another thing here. In Mr. Miller's letter here, it says that the new buildings built today equal a bronze LEED rating. So why are we going to give any breaks on the fees when they're already doing LED ratings anyway? Okay, it's a bronze, maybe not a gold, but I mean, why are we giving away the fees?
It needs to be certified. You don't...
I think it's only in one aspect, and I could ask Mike or
But it's right here in his letter.
But it needs to be certified just because...
I mean, I don't see why we're giving away fees.
You're not giving it away. What you're doing is you're promoting...
You're giving rebates.
You're promoting people to invest more money in the town, which in turn will make the value of the property worth more. Therein, we will be able to collect more. But the point being is, not only is it the advantage of collecting more money, but first and foremost, being green. In fact, if you look at the initiatives this council has approved before you were on this council, you look at the, the Deco bikes, now it's called City Bikes. You look at the, in the parking garage we have for...
I'm all for green. I'm all for green, Leonard.
Well, good.
Mayor Leonard.
Great. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Right, but what I believe is, if someone believes in the green program, they're going to build it with or without a rebate. They're going to go ahead and do it, and that's what people should be looking at. I don't see where we have to give away the rebates or incentive.
Could I just shed, just to give you a little, just to give you something, when I spoke to Pinecrest, much bigger town, they've had this for 5 years. They've only had they've had 3 projects, a government building and 2 private homes. And what I was told personally was, the people who build green homes themselves, are people who are very environmentally interested and are going to spend that money on themselves, and I don't know if they're ready or looking to recoup as a return on investment. It's more of a personal statement, and whether they get that money back years later or to turn around, it's only 2 projects in a big town. I'm not sure, rebates or no rebates, I don't think there's going to be a stampede into the town of Bay Harbor Islands to build green buildings.
No, I'm just hoping that if somebody builds a multifamily, that they do build it green. I think that is where I think the mark is. I think you're right. If it's a single-family home, it's more personal. But I think if someone is a developer and they're going to build a multifamily building here, I hope this is maybe a little bit of the incentive that pushes them over the edge.
If they're on the fence, that's the idea.
Yeah,
If
that's
they're
the
on the
concept.
fence, or if you have somebody who, you're trying to encourage it a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You're never going to get 100%. It is what it is.
But we have, I think, does anyone have any other questions? All right, hearing none, I think we're okay. So, we have, Victor Maya. Mr. Maya, welcome back.
Doing that good.
Doing a great job. Yeah.
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. The devil is in the details, and the details here are, you compare, to Pinecrest that haven't built anything. How many projects do you have ongoing? How many are on the books? How many are in the future? And here we have a situation where the town isn't even putting its money where its mouth is. It's not being green. We want to be green. Well, then put it in the code. There's so much stuff we want to put in the code. Well, put it in the code that the town will build its buildings green, and lead the way. Otherwise, this becomes another way for the developers to extract money back out from the town. Because, quite frankly, the certifications, the inspections, all of this stuff, or all of this, there's really going to be very little control. And I, look at the comment that Ms. Morano made was right on. When I see our town planner write, quote, "The Florida Building Code is one of the toughest in the world. It is estimated by most building officials / architects that new buildings built today would be equal to a bronze LEED rating." So already, by Florida code, they have to meet a lot of these standards, and we're going to read right back to them for following Florida law. That seems to me ridiculous and a waste of money. And moreover, the way that this is written, and all the financial analysis was done on building permits, but there are also plan review fees that are going to be rebated as well, and I didn't see those calculated in terms of the cost estimate. So this really is something that you have no control over. You have really very little idea what the impact is going to be. And you want to encourage green, find other ways to do it and lead by example. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. All right, any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if the existing Florida Building Code is tantamount to bronze, and basically we're already requiring that without giving away the permits, why don't we just remove that level and just give the incentives for the levels that are above and beyond the Florida Building Code?
Michael?
I need to clarify that.
Yeah, because that's really, that's not my interpretation, that most are... Michael?
Good evening. Michael Orford. The statute requires that all governments build green buildings. That's section chapter 255 of the Florida statute. So that's mandatory on all government structures. It's still voluntary in most places for private construction. Communities that are looking to encourage green buildings, you try to come up with incentives, if you will, to build higher levels. A bronze is pretty standard. You want to get to a gold, silver, or platinum type of level if you use the LEED certification process. And what has proved effective, even on a limited basis, is when you give a little bit of dollar rebate to somebody to go beyond the bronze, like to buy the Chevy, you get something higher than that. So that's just a tool that some other cities have used. That's what we're recommending here. That's what's in the Pinecrest ordinance.
So would you recommend then just removing the bronze level?
You could. Again, you're trying to encourage somebody to go to a higher level.
Right.
So that wouldn't hurt this ordinance. It was in the Pinecrest ordinance. That's why it was in this one.
But it's in all the ordinances, and that's the thing. There's 7 cities in the county that have it, and they all have. I'm not aware of anyone that doesn't have a bronze level.
Right.
And I think the point is showing the distinction, because you got to remember, it's not just the permit fees. They have to repeatedly go back to LEED and get that certification. So whereas something may have necessarily been built to the level of bronze, that doesn't mean 5 years later the building is bronze anymore, because they're not doing what they need to do to maintain that standard. So the thing that it doesn't really mention is that if somebody is going to build a quote-unquote green building, it's an ongoing process. They have to consistently achieve that level. So, when someone makes a commitment to LEED, that they're going to be doing it not just when the developer comes and goes, but rather the building is going to have that lifestyle. That's what you're paying for. That's what the increased value is. So it's a different standard of living.
Can you mention maybe a few of the other cities that are closer to Bay Harbor? Because Pinecrest, the topography is a little different. It's, got a lot of almost acre homes and commercial on US 1. I don't think it has...
There is quite a bit of commercial. There's not that many high-rise...
Right, not so much multifamily like we have.
There's not that much multifamily there.
And the single family is different. There's more land.
But there is a lot of...
Is there a meeting outside that we don't know about? Mr. Yaffe, Ms. Bruder, Mr. Yaffe?
I'm focusing on this.
I'm here.
Well, I know we're not supposed to be...
One more week, we won't have a forum.
Well, my thing is, we had a list originally when we first discussed it, and I think there were 7 cities in the league analysis, and I know that Miami Beach was one of them. Miami Beach has a similar ordinance in place.
Yeah, but I'm
Mayor
told all the
and
time
Kelly,
we're different than Miami Beach.
I think the question was stated, the building code, or Florida building code, automatically qualifies you as in the Bronx. No, and I just think Dale could come up and maybe address that. Just because you build a building today under the Florida building code today, doesn't mean you're getting a rebate just because you build it and it's automatically a bronze level LEED certification.
The bronze, silver, and gold, or whatever it is a certification by a private company, like LEEDs or Green Buildings or something like that. They look at your plan, they review your plan, and look at all of the content in your building and certify it once the building is finished, and they give you a certification. But that's by a private company.
Right.
What I wanted to bring out before, the Florida Building Code has an energy conservation code, and we are required to enforce those minimum standards. They're a lot more than they were 2 years ago. Every year they're increasing the standards with water quality and building envelope and thermal energy efficiency and windows and doors and things like that. So they would probably be equal to a bronze standard, but they're not getting the certification through a private entity, an architectural board or somebody who certifies the building.
Right.
And I think that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Once they get that certification, then we could give them back the rebate.
Someone has to look at it.
Which is really minimal, but, it's through a private entity, it's not through the building code.
And I don't know if you can answer this, also about the tax impact. Do we know for certain that these buildings will be considered more valuable and therefore be taxed at a higher valuation?
When in my note, I said, I was very careful to say these are estimates, building code, and I only went by the construction cost. On a multifamily, I can only assume that if the building was built, let's say, for $6 million, and it's 14 units, and that's what the construction was, that the units are going to sell for whatever they sell, and you will see a greater tax return on that, or, you get more tax revenue from it. I couldn't honestly make that...
The answer to the question is no. That's the answer. There's no way to 100% know. There's no one's
No, it's a swear.
It's a guess, but the idea being that if you have 2 homes that are similar in design and location, one certified higher than the other, you assume that the one that's higher certified is going to be worth more.
All right.
That's all you can do.
I think that we need to call the question.
All right. Call vote, please.
Councilmember Ford.
For.
Councilmember Morano.
Against.
Councilmember Reed.
Opposed.
Councilmember Sauber.
For.
Councilmember Yaffe.
For.
Vice Mayor Bruder.
For.
Mayor Leonard.
For.
Passes.
All right, thank you. Item number 10, please.
Consideration and approval of an ordinance on first reading requested by Councilmember Reed and Mayor Leonard, amending the town code relating to air conditioning units and other mechanical equipment on balconies.
I'll move it.
Second.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Bay Harbor Islands, Florida, amending the town's code of ordinances related to the regulations of the uses on exterior balconies, amending section 2412 of the zoning and planning code to prohibit air conditioning units and other mechanical equipment on balconies, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Any council member want to talk about it?
Yes, I do.
Oh, Councilmember Morano.
Surprise. In looking in this, at Exhibit A, it talks about that you're not able to barbecue on the balconies?
Yes.
They have summer kitchens with barbecues out there? Am I mistaken? I see that people are advertising summer kitchens and some of the new buildings. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's actually something that I think we're going to be looking to talk about in a future meeting. Some of the new buildings are being designed with...
Yeah, here it is.
Or they can't have them, we're not allowing them, but
They're on
they
the
need
roof,
to be...
right? Then what's the summer kitchen?
No, the roof is not a balcony.
No,
The roof is not a balcony.
No, I think I've even seen advertisements on the balconies. They will have summer kitchens. Again, a long time ago, I asked why were we not giving living space, counting balconies as square footage or living space. But now, meanwhile, these balconies are coming in very large with
We haven't had any summer kitchen built.
We're only aware of one project that wanted to do that.
Thank you.
One project, but that's not allowed. So they won't be able to.
They won't, yes.
Okay, good.
All right.
They can do them on the roof.
Well, doesn't the fire code dictate that?
Yes, but I believe the fire, if they're electrical, they would allow it.
It's more the gas.
It's open flame glass that they don't want, but the town doesn't allow it.
Yeah, we don't allow it, so... Any other questions here? None, we'll get the public comment. Jeff Coster, number 10. Over back.
Jeff Coster, 1135, 103rd Street. It's about the air conditioners, I don't know exactly what you intend to do with it, but the building that I live in now, several of the units have air conditioners on the balconies, and would they be grandfathered in, or what would happen in a case like that? And anybody putting in new air conditioners, it's difficult to put them on the roof, so they put them on the ground floor in front of the ground floor apartments.
There was one example behind the storehouse. I think that's what started all this, on 93rd Street. And they were put, first of all, they're in a flex setback, so that allows the balcony to be even closer. And it was on the interior, from the back of the building to the back of the building. And some of the residents, have come in here and just pleaded with us. They can't sleep at night. It's horrible.
Yeah. When I had my factory, we put up like cubicles, and they're very, very well insulated, which really cuts down on the sound of it incredibly. The air conditioning people know how to do that.
But to answer your question, I think the older buildings, as they are, would be grandfathered in. They're not going to make them go back and retrofit, right?
Absolutely. The ordinance is forward, not retroactive.
Good. And if somebody was barbecuing on the ground floor, and I understand that was permitted. I smell roasting flesh.
All right, well, that's not... All right.
And if you're not going to buy my building for...
All right, Jeff.
I think as a mausoleum, it might work well.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mayak, come on back.
Victor Maya, 1155, 103rd Street. I seem to recall being at numerous planning and zoning meetings where projects have been approved with summer kitchens on balconies. In fact, I think even the Continental, the P3 design next door to me, they have provisions for summer kitchens on those balconies as well.
We just reviewed, there's only one.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
There was, right, okay, yeah, so it's more than one. Yes, so there was more than one. So, I mean, that has been, because I remember complaining about those very things at the planning and zoning meetings, and the lawyers and everybody said, yeah, they're perfectly fine, they can do them, and you look at the code and it's like, no, they can't, so, that is a problem or an issue that we have in terms of the interaction with all of this. And I, when you look at mechanical devices, I understand the intent, being with, with these air conditioning compressors and all that, but numerous projects have been approved with these hot tubs and pools and stuff like that, on the balconies as well. not on the roofs, but on the balconies. And those, I think, would comprise a mechanical device that runs, those hot tub engines out there. Refrigerators are mechanical devices that we go out there also. So I think, we need to be clear on all this, because, this issue has come up time and time again, at planning and zoning. And they say, all right, well, fine, toss everything up on the roof, okay? And frankly, you've expanded so much what you can put out there, and with the walls and the columns and this and that and the other thing about what's allowed and not allowed on the roofs. I say, fine, so you toss everything up on the roof. There's a lot of stuff to deal with the balcony. And if you're going to allow so much livable stuff out there, we need to start taxing that space. Thank you.
Thank you.
At some point, can we get an update from Mr. Lee? Because 2 months ago, when we talked about this, he said he was going to go talk to the Bay Harbor Club behind the Stewart House and suggest some kind of an installation and all that. And I'd like to know if any of that was accomplished.
Yeah.
Well, we have talked to Mr. Pitchman and his superintendent over there, but they're not, we don't have much leverage at this point in time. They've already completed the buildings. And as the attorney says, we're going forward with these requirements. I had asked him if it would be possible to go in and put some type of sound abatement material in there. And of course, at this point in time, I was hoping he'd get the building next door, and I don't think he's going to build that one. So I was thinking we could use that as a little leverage, but...
Well, we will be coming back with a noise ordinance, so if they don't comply, if we change the decibel level and then he doesn't comply, then he'll have to do something or shut them down, right?
Well, there again, I don't know what the
Does he have a CO?
decibel rating is there, or if he's...
CO.
Yeah, if he's in compliance today and you pass an ordinance tomorrow, I don't think that would...
Oh, his grandfather.
Well,
But wait a minute, for the noise, if we change the decibel level for any sound at all after a certain amount of time, construction, air conditioning, because I seem to remember with La Nautique that they had to make some changes there.
Yeah, they had their old units that were creating more noise than what the noise ordinance allowed, and they replaced some of those units for newer units that are
Right,
better.
so they weren't grandfathered in.
yeah. But going forward, we are looking at if we're, putting some type of sound abatement material in those areas that would kill the sound. And also with generators, standby generators, and putting some type of a sound barrier in there too.
And are you talking about in the multifamily, the backup generators?
Well, even single family, if
Right.
they're putting in next door to your house, you'd want some type of sound deadening
Absolutely.
Let's bring this back again. That's a really good point. Let's bring this back again next month. I'd like to talk to them. I'm sure staff does too. And then also we have Mr. Martino. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Vincent Martino, 1050 93rd Street, Stewart House condo. Happy New Year, everybody. Hopefully this year we'll have a little bit more civil discourse with everyone. I'm here for number 10, and I appreciate Mayor Leonard and Councilpersons Reed putting this on the agenda. I have a couple concerns. One, when I came up here, I guess it was in November, to discuss this, to bring up the noise and all that, I recall that I did state that I thought, in my opinion, that the buildings on the perimeter of the island, the ones facing the water, if they were going to have a rooftop pool, etc., air conditioning units facing outside to the water would be acceptable. I would imagine it wouldn't really bother too many people. I think the way this is worded, to me, and I haven't seen the details on it, but it would probably prohibit all air conditioners on sides of buildings, and that I don't think is maybe the best way to approach this, because I think I don't think it would work. And then I did have a Councilwoman Reed mentioned about the noise level,
and mitigation, and I spoke with Dale Lee a few minutes ago regarding that. And if a noise level, and this doesn't pertain to number 10, if a noise level restriction comes up and it's passed, if a building is already grandfathered in, is an existing building, et cetera, would we have, would my building have an opportunity to discuss with the Bay Harbor Club a possible solution to mitigate the sound, even regardless that a noise ordinance, if it was passed, were indeed passed? Because again, the noise level for our building, for the 18 units or so, is pretty high. So that's basically what I want to talk about.
Yeah, that's actually why I wanted to bring it back next month, because the last time I spoke to Ron about it, our manager, I thought they were actually working on something, so this is actually, this is actually news to me that it wasn't getting worked out. I thought they were actually going to do a solution, so I kind of wanted staff to handle it, but if they're not going to change it, I'd like to personally have an opportunity to talk to them. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but...
No, I understand that. The building is built,
But you know what, without saying anything on the record, let's give it another month.
Yeah.
When I went to your building and I went to the homes of your neighbors, I hear what you're talking about. So, let's bring this back up another month. Okay.
Regarding the noise, okay.
Yeah, because you know what, it's, like I said, this is something that Kelly and I don't disagree with putting it on the roof, but whether or not this passes or doesn't pass, that doesn't make any impact on your life. So, it's not just the fact of changing the law, it's about, again, like you said, that quality of life. And personally, I don't think it's the loudest, but I never got to see the units on your side. I only was on apartments on the further end, so, apparently, I guess, further, east, it's louder.
East, yeah.
Right, and I never got to get into those apartments. I was only on the western side.
Mhm.
So, again, I can't speak intelligently about how loud it is, but, I went there,
Yeah.
and I could hear it,
Right.
you can't really hear it inside, but outside, I understand where you're coming
You can
from.
hear it inside, and you're welcome to come anytime if you want to, call, and anybody can come over as well.
Yeah, but I think we're all on the same page that, we want to have everyone have a quality of life.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
I just want to pass a comment. I think this has been long overdue. This has been going on for months. I don't know what is happening, but I know this was brought up 6 months ago. We haven't been able to resolve anything. That's all.
All right. Well, would you like to speak to the property owner?
Can we go back to the item on the agenda and decide whether we're going to adopt this on first reading?
Yeah, we have a motion, a second, so...
Well, perhaps there are some other projects up for approval that might have this same situation. Do you know of any of the ones coming up that have been through design review?
No.
Yeah, because,
No.
Okay, so, all right.
thank you.
Can we have a full vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman Yaffe?
For.
Councilman Staver?
Against.
Councilman Reed?
For.
Councilman Morano?
For.
Councilman Fuller?
For.
Vice Mayor Bruder? For. Mayor Leonard?
4.
Passes.
Number 12.
Discussion of possible action on a community showcase video program to enhance the Bay Harbor Islands website with community promotions, special events, marketing, and local business advertising. We're gonna run a quick demo from the city of Aventura, which uses this service or this company. They're well-founded. If you read through it, they have thousands of towns they do this for. They put forward a very professional, short video clip. We would be entitled to like 5 of them. And then we have the ability to upload at special events.
Welcome to Aventura, Florida, a waterfront playground with a thriving business climate. It's a great place to live, work, and play. Located on Florida's eastern coast, Aventura is a picturesque community of over 37,000 residents. We're centrally located between Miami International and Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airports, with easy access to major highways. We have excellent schools, including a highly rated public charter school, access to hospitals, an arts and cultural center, and are able to provide first-class services to our residents without raising property taxes. Living in Aventura is like being on vacation all year long. There's great shopping, restaurants, parks, close proximity to beaches, golf, boating, and an abundance of year-round recreational opportunities. The lifestyle here is relaxed and elegant. City officials recognize the contributions of businesses in the area by maintaining a high level of service for all who work, live, and play in Aventura. Once you visit us, you'll see that our city is someplace special. We invite you to build your dreams here in a community of timeless opportunity.
Just so you know, the cost to us would be zero. It only asks that we would endorse them so that they could solicit businesses. That would be added as a quick link, that when this would pop up, when they would click on it, it would invite them to say, for whatever business that decided to or chose to advertise with them. Now, if nobody in the business community said, I'm not interested, they still would do this for us free of charge. We'd have this service. We can opt out. They only ask that whoever, if you say you had somebody who bought advertising, they would leave that run until that advertising ran out, and then it would be off your website. But it was a nice, they have a couple other clips. I don't know if you're interested in seeing one more.
No, I think we need to get
Okay, so anyway.
Does anyone have any questions on this?
I'm not clear. This would be on our website?
It would be on, not the Aventura, it would be customized for Bay Harbor Islands.
Yeah, of course.
It could be for real estate, welcome to the town, just an overview of what's going on, anything we want it to be. It's really customizable to us, and it also gives us the ability to upload like 30-second clips of, let's say, snow day. You could have something, to link to that, which, it's just something, to kind of help the website and do, proactively advertise the town.
I'd like to make a comment. I think our website needs to stay clean. We shouldn't be putting links to anything. That opens up the doors to Dr. Bootyland there or anything else. I don't see where we should even connect with advertisers. I'm all for a video, but I think our IT guy can do a good job on our own website. We have very beautiful pictures of the bridge, and you could slap any name of any city on that video there. But I think we really need to keep our website clean, because you don't know who's going to advertise on it and who you're going to link to.
How is that different than the newsletter? Because we allow a lot of advertising for newsletter.
You have control over you do not have control over this, they do.
Okay, well.
Is that true, Ron? You don't have...
I believe we would have some control over that. We would review anything that went up on the any advertising. If it was inappropriate, it wouldn't be allowed, and
I just
they would
don't
be forced.
see the need for us to promote Bay Harbor on our Bay Harbor website, because are people coming to our website to say, do I want to live there? Now, if there was some kind of a chamber of commerce, they should be doing this for us. We're paying them $7,500.
I can tell you that a lot of people come to... Okay. We talk about advertising the town all the time, and I think a lot of people who are interested in the town do go to a website and look through it. This would be not a quick link. It's not a link to some random thing. It's our website. It's what we put on it, so you would click on it if you liked, and it would say, a welcoming remark.
And what about the app? Because we were talking about...
That's something else that we'll be doing.
We're working on that already. So is this a separate GoCast app, or is it integrated?
No, it's a separate
So then there would be two locations or two apps that would pertain to us?
It would be for us to use that to...
It wouldn't be an app for the public, it would be an app for us to use, like if we're on like the snow day. Let's say we're out on snow day and we film a quick little snippet that we can immediately upload it to our website. Say, hey, you know, we're here. There's still 2 hours left in our snow day. Come on by. You know.
But we could do that without this.
I'm sorry.
We could do that without this, right? With our IT guy could do it.
It's much more difficult. We have to spend some money on something.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope we upgrade on something here.
All right. This is an opportunity to get it. You know.
I have a quick question. Why isn't our website addressed .gov?
That's another thing where we're working on. We're filling out the paperwork. I know you had mentioned it to me some time ago, but we're getting that to switch it to fl.gov.
Okay. Do you have another question?
Yes, I do.
Oh, sure.
Again, later on, I talk about having a business district committee. Perhaps they could look at it and see if that's what they want in order to bring business to the town.
Okay.
Let them decide if that's a good thing.
Okay. Mr. Maya?
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. I think the cost might be some control over your webpage, because there was a screenshot of the video and then surrounding it a whole bunch of links to businesses. So I don't know if those pop up on our webpage or not. It was not clear. So that's, to me, that's a little bit of a concern. And I think the better way to do it is, if you want to attract people and create a video for the town. I think these gentlemen would love to generate more traffic, into the area and to create something, to get people to come here, and there are other means to do it. It's free, no cost. It's too good to be true. It is, and you look at the details of their proposal, so you're looking at basically a 3-year commitment, that you have to provide a link to, and even if it says you must honor any request for termination of sales upon 30 days notice, and only if the town continues to provide the community video program linkage from its homepage for the duration of this agreement. This agreement is for 3 years. So you got to look at the details here, guys. It's free, blah blah blah. And, and you look at the front, this agreement is between blah, 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 by both parties until the 3rd anniversary of the date that the completed and approved video program is made. So, we just because somebody comes along and somebody else is doing it, that might not be the best thing for us. It's, let's think about, have a coordinated plan in terms of bringing business to the area. You put a video, you create a link, you throw it out there on our Facebook page and other stuff, and that way you're free of any entanglements. Who knows, what could happen, with all of this. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you for your comments, Jeff Coster.
Jeff Coster, 1135 103rd Street. The video we just saw, if something like that was incorporated with our television station, with some advertising, it would be a lot more interesting than some of the stuff that comes up. It could all be incorporated. It would look nice.
Thank you. All right. Personally, I'm not particularly in favor of it, but I think we should obviously vote on it.
Call the question.
Yeah, call the question. Cool. All those in favor say aye. All those against?
Opposed?
All against. Great. Moving on. Number 13.
Okay. Consideration and approval of a transfer of development rights, TDR transaction of the transfer of 2 dwelling units from Oceanus Condominium Incorporated, 1060 92nd Street to Bay Harbor Hotel, 9601 East Bay Harbor Drive.
All right. Can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any comments? All right, hearing none. We have public comment from Joel Simmons. No comment. Okay. All right. I guess this doesn't need a poll vote, I'm assuming, so it's just a regular vote. All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone against?
Opposed?
Okay. Record reflect Councilmember Reed is against. Next item, number 14.
Consideration and approval of a transfer of development right, TDR transaction of transfer of 2 dwelling units from, did I just read that? 3. I'm sorry.
It's 3.
3 units from 9350 Bay Harbor Island LLC 350 Bay Harbor Terrace to Bay Harbor Hotel LLC, 9601 East Bay Harbor Drive.
All right, can I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, a second. Mr. Simmons again? Wait, okay.
I have a comment.
Ms. Morano?
I would like you to note both prices on these last two items, $72,750 and $70,000, and at the last meeting, I asked that, we go to $65,000. I mean, I think, we're selling too cheap on the town.
Okay. But these units are not our units?
No, I'm not going against this. I just want you to note the prices of what these are selling for.
Yeah, no, I noted that. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone against?
Opposed?
Councilmember Reed against. All right, number 15.
Consideration and approval of a transfer development rights transaction of the transfer of 15 dwelling units from the town TDR Bank for construction of a previously approved project on November 11, 2015, to be located 9601 East Bay Harbor Drive.
Can I have a motion, a second for discussion? A motion?
I'll move it.
And a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. I think we're going to start with discussion here. I know I've spoken to staff.
Excuse me, just a second, Mayor.
Yeah,
Ron, what is the total number of TDRs required for this project?
20.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So then how can we ask for 15?
Well, I think staff is going to... Can you explain this a little bit? Because they're asking for 15 and they're allowed the 50% rule. Can you explain that a little bit?
The code says we would allow half, but if the developer or made a good faith effort to secure his other half but could not, the town could consider selling additional TDRs to them if they satisfied the council that they made the effort and supplied information backing that up.
Yeah. Does staff, does council have any comments?
I have comments. In reading, who they've contacted, it seems to be that they've contacted mostly developers, and I don't know if it was a good faith effort in contacting the actual owners of properties, because I'm sure somebody would want to sell TDRs at this price.
Okay.
I can say the 10, that's fine.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other comments?
Well, I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, the price is, of ours are $62,500, and the ones that you bought were $70,000. And so at this point, I think that I would not be in favor of selling my TDRs for $62,500. Considering that you do need more than what we normally give, I think that you should pay the same cost as you paid for the other ones, and I think that if you're asking for us to deviate, I think you should pay it up in full within 10 days.
So the 15 at 70.
At 15, at 72.5, paid in full within a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, I don't...
I mean, that's my...
$1,087,000.
Okay, Mr. Simmons, do you want to come up and speak? This will be your opportunity.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joel Simmons. I'm appearing on behalf of Bay Harbor Hotel LLC, the owner of the site at 9601 East Bay Harbor Drive. I thought it'd be useful to, having heard the comments that you've made so far, to summarize the efforts that we've actually made to try and buy private TDRs. Because the last thing I want is for you to think that having only received our site plan approval in November 2015, that I'm coming in front of you with less than 2 months of trying to buy private TDRs under my belt, because that's not the case. On the contrary, we've made extensive efforts over the course of more than a year to buy in private TDRs. As I'm sure you're well aware, you cannot actually take a transfer of a private TDR until such time as you have a site plan approval. But that didn't actually stop us from going out and trying to agree transfers. And the first offer we made was to one of your local buildings, not a developer, back in November 2014, and I'm still speaking to those people today. I've probably spoken to them over 20 times to try and encourage them to sell us their TDRs. At this point, I haven't had any confirmation from them that they're willing to sell them, or confirmation, in fact, that they even have them. So that one I do consider to be a dead duck, but I'm still trying to speak to them. So we started making offers in November 2014. We're still continuing today. We agreed the first transfer in August 2015, which speaks very largely to the price that we've paid so far. The simple fact is, if you can't take a transfer of a TDR, and there are other developers out there trying to buy TDRs in, you've got to do something to try and encourage those people to run with you, when there's absolutely no certainty that you'll even be able to take those TDRs. So when we were making offers to developers, to buildings, existing buildings, we did a couple of things to try and encourage them to run with us. One of the things was we offered a non-refundable deposit, which you have that in your contracts. If you don't get a building permit within 12 months, you lose your deposit, but I haven't seen any other developer who's actually done that. So we first of all offered non-refundable deposits entirely at our risk, because we had no idea whether we were going to even be able to take TDRs until we had our site plan approval. And we also offered a lot more money than anybody else was paying, simply to try and encourage people to run with us. And even then, there were still people. There was one particular contract we were after, which was 5 TDRs, and they decided to run with another party who already had their site plan approval, who offered less money than we did, simply because they would be transferred more speedily. So that speaks to some of the efforts we've made. Other than that, we've had regular contact with the town officials, who have proven to be the best source of any TDRs that are available, whether it's through your buildings locally that exist or through developers. They've very much got their fingers on the pulse, but we tried to go beyond that. We've been following all of the developments that are going through the town, where there are TDRs that are being released or are going to be released, which is why a number of the parties we've contacted have been developers, because they've been the most current source of TDRs available. We've even turned up, I've been personally to DRC meetings, to P&Z meetings, to try and make contact with architects, developers, whoever it may be, who are the contacts for these buildings, so we can then follow through the process to actually try and get hold of get them to sign contracts to sell their TDRs to us before perhaps other people get to them. We've contacted all of the buildings. There's a list that is produced by the town that shows everything that's developed, and by indication the spare TDRs. We've been to every single building in the town to see what's available. If we find anybody who is even in the slightest bit willing to sell their TDRs, we've visited those buildings, we've done outreach, we've explained our project to them to try and encourage them that this is a project that is worthwhile for the town rather than just another residential condo building. And we've had some success there. There's one particular building where they need one more vote to sell us 3 TDRs, but they cannot get it. And that's an existing building with, I think, 7 units in it, something like that. They have 3 spare TDRs. Other than that, we've even offered to pay commissions to brokers locally, and even to developers if they hear of TDRs that are available. We've attempted to buy 42 TDRs at this point. We've issued contracts for 17 of them. And just to give you some flavour, I've already spoken about some of them. We've agreed 5 out of those 17. 3 need one more vote, as we've discussed. 5 were sold to another party. 4 are currently being sold with the buildings. I thought we had that one under offer. This is the only contract I've issued since we got our site plan approval, and that was at $62,500 per TDR. But they have decided to sell it with the building. They may come available at a later date, but it depends what the new purchaser wants to do with the project. 3, as I said, we're still trying to establish if they're available, but I don't hold out much hope for those. There's another scheme that I'm sure you're all very well aware of that will release 13 TDRs, but the sale of that building has been delayed, and who knows when that's going to happen. But we are certainly in very close contact with the developer, who would more than happily sell us his TDRs if they're available. And we've even tried, in fact from somebody in this room, to buy 9 that were in a leasehold building, but the freeholder, probably quite rightly so, would not entertain the idea of agreeing to a sale of the TDRs. I hope this gives you a good idea that we've spent a lot of time looking for these TDRs, and even though we've applied for 15 now, with your discretion, we've continued to try to buy the TDRs. As I said, we've submitted an offer for 4 TDRs subsequent to making our application, and this week alone, since it's the new year, I've taken the opportunity to contact everybody I know who still has TDRs available that could be sold, might be sold in the future. So it's more than 1 year's effort to get to this point. I would hope that selling us the additional TDRs satisfies our joint requirements and desires to see this project completed, and I hope that you can agree to transfer those additional TDRs to us. Thank you.
Mr. Simmons, would you agree to sell it at the rate at which you just purchased at $72,000 each?
72.5.
I'm sorry, it's $72,500.
We haven't bought all of them at $72,500, and I've tried to explain the framework behind the offers that we made, that they were exceptional offers. I think that it would be fair to treat us in the same way as other developers, whereby the 50% would be at the town's stated price. The additional 5, I would certainly be willing to pay $72,500 each for.
Have we done that previously, Ron? I don't recall.
Actually, no, I haven't
never
done
done
a
that.
situation like this.
We've never done that.
Usually it was,
It's
I don't
one
think the
price.
circumstance arose since we adopted the ordinance,
Maybe
the
you're right.
50% rule. I don't think anybody's come back to us and said, if you give us more than 50%.
Did I hear you say that you contacted every possible building?
We've been to every building. I cannot say that we have spoken to everybody in those buildings because some of them, it's not always possible to get hold of people, but we've certainly made good faith efforts over the course of the last year to go to every...
The letter, so you knock on the door, and if no one is there, that's it? That's your effort?
No, we've sent letters to, we've tried to establish who the presidents of each board are, and we've sent letters to those people. Can I say that we've sent letters to every single building? I don't think we have.
I think you
don't
said
think
that.
that's possible.
I thought that's what I heard.
We've been to every single building. We've knocked on every single door, and we have sent letters to everybody where we can find out who the board president is.
Well, you go to Sunbiz, I think, I'm sure Mr. Warnick knows how to get in touch with all of them, right?
No.
No?
Steve Warnick, address 1 Southeast 3rd Avenue. And there's many buildings where there's information on Sunbiz that's not current. There's situations where the person listed on Sunbiz may not, there's no phone numbers there. They may have an address that's out of state. So there are situations where it's very difficult to get in touch with owners. You have absentee owners. Some of them are condos, some of them are apartments, some of them, there are various situations. So what I would say is most of the developers in Bay Harbor Islands who are seeking TDRs do not come before the town council unless their project is appealed, right? So this is a project where there were 3, of course 3 public hearings in front of this town council, 2 public hearings in front of the planning and zoning board. So the time that this project goes on, as Mr. Simmons was stating, it's a very difficult process to pursue TDRs. Number one, when it's a unique project and people are out there not knowing how long it may be before you get your approval. And so this is a very unique circumstance. I think the way the ordinance is crafted with a 50-50 policy, but specifically allowing for discretion in unique circumstances where it's not your typical building, to me, this is as significant of an effort to purchase TDRs as I've seen in the clients that I've worked with. So,
Well, I'd just like to give an example, okay? So you're here before us, showing us, all of the evidence of your efforts. But I can tell you with certainty that I know of one building where the registered agent information on Sunbiz is very accurate and has been for years, and there was no letter sent or no letter received. So, if you're telling me that you've made this effort, you're an attorney, businessman, I can tell you that, some of them are slipping through the cracks, so I think you could go back out there and probably find some.
The one other thing I would add is, because I'm not sure if what Joel was saying earlier about the price, I don't think there has been a situation where a developer came after agreeing to a private contract at a price higher than the town contract, where they've offered more money than others in the community for some of the private TDRs. I think what he's saying is there's an established town price that is at 62 for waterfront, and that's what anyone would be paying, any developer would be paying in that application. For the extra 5, he's saying he'll match that price, which is in the private contract, their highest contract that they've made. So that's, I'm just clarifying that, whether you...
Well, wait, I need clarification on something else. Can you define our 50% rule?
It's 50% unless you need less than 5, which the council can do. That's one of the clauses, and the other one says...
Say that again.
Can I interject? Isaac, when we were selling a lot of the town TDRs
I remember.
at a fast pace, we said we need to slow this down and limit the number of TDRs that any particular project can buy from the town's TDR bank. So we limited the percentage. A particular project could not buy more than 50% of its TDRs from the town.
All right, so this needs 50, this needs 20.
With the exception was if it was 5 units or less, they could buy all of the TDRs,
They could buy
100%.
Right. Okay, I just didn't remember exactly.
And in some of the prior applications that came before council, members of the council, rightfully so, were very, wanted evidence of the efforts that had been made by the developers to find the TDR.
Can you clarify something for me?
62.
Is this at our discretion
To go above
to
50%?
sell even the 10 at 62.5? It's
Not to sell any.
discretion.
I mean, we're not obligated to sell any.
Thank you.
We have in the past upped the price, right, when there are circumstances that call for them, whether, I think we've done it in the past.
We've done it what we've done in the past is if somebody comes in and the price has changed, and they need to extend the time period, we brought it up to the current price. That's what we've done.
And those situations have been based on the appraisals that either were on the same agenda or on the previous agenda.
Right, I understand that, but
A new price is...
with all due respect, if the in my opinion, if the TDRs that are privately owned have so much value, I'm not going to sell the rest of the citizens short and think that my TDRs are less valuable. They've just gone up. You've showed me that there's more value. And plus, you need more from me. You need an extra 5, right?
All right, so are you, so you're not in favor, that's not something you'd be willing to consider, the increase in the price?
I think I would like to be treated fairly, because I'd like to know that if you're upping the price for us, what happens when the next person comes to you? If they need 50%, are you going to be increasing the price? And that's your prerogative to do it. This is a little bit of a tricky situation, but if you were to tell me as a group that I would get 15 TDRs if I agreed to pay $72,500 for each one, then I think the answer would have to be yes.
Okay, so you have a motion?
I have a motion.
I think it's already been moved and seconded. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we haven't, no, but I mean, she was gonna amend it, so then we were gonna make...
Are you the maker of the motion?
I thought you were.
The maker of the motion.
Councilman Salver made...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was you.
See, I actually remembered that.
Yeah, after they amend the motion, then we can...
We have to amend first.
Can I just clarify one thing?
Yes.
There was a comment made about transferring all of the money. We cannot take these TDRs until we have a building permit.
Put it in escrow.
You want the money in escrow. How much is subject to the town's forfeiture if we do not get our...
You know what, there is a mechanism for this, and it will be, if the TDRs are sold, they'll be closed on pretty fast because they need to move ahead with their the
Okay.
foundation, and
Okay.
so it's not gonna be
You're
a...
not issuing the foundation permit unless the TDRs are purchased.
Right.
correct?
Yes, that's what I said.
They have to do pretty soon.
Wait a minute, is it purchased or paid for?
Purchase.
Purchased and paid for.
It's the same thing.
Then it goes forward.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
All right, so your amendment was that the selling price for all 15 TDRs go from 62.5 to 72.5.
Right.
7 to
Well,
750.
I'll, you know,
72,
I guess...
750.
I'll accept that amendment. Okay, all right.
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
now we have public comment, Mr. Maya.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay, wow, okay. And Mrs. Newhart.
I'm Frances Newhart, 1060 Kane Concourse. I hope you realize that this gateway is in the business district as well, and that for each TDR that he's buying is really 2 units of hotel rooms and 2 parking spaces. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because if you look at the open market and what's going out on our island right now, people are not stupid. And they're not selling their TDRs. If they can get $6 or $8 million for their buildings, and each tenant or the one selling or who owns it, condo, gets $1 million, why would they go and sell their TDRs? And what's happening here, I think it's going to happen also to your friend. Some of these buildings did sell their TDRs, and now they're asking like $850 for their apartments. If they didn't sell the TDRs, the building could have been close to $9 million, $10 million, and they could have made a lot more money. So the bottom line is money. It has nothing to do with preserving the historical district or whatever these TDRs' original intent was. So let's admit that right away. The second thing is, Councilwoman Bruder, your family sold 2 buildings, historical buildings, knocked them down and made a lot of money.
I'm sorry, one of them was not historical,
Okay.
and the other...
I don't want to lose my time,
Sorry,
so...
and neither was the other one.
Okay. But the point to make is that you make more money. I would do the same thing. If I can make more money selling an entire building versus 1 unit that I can barely, I'm going to get stuck now with a dilapidated building, needs a lot of money to fix up, and these people aren't really giving me that much money to fix it up. I'm out of here. These people are moving out. I was told 2,000 population has already left our island. So I don't even know what's going on here anymore. The other thing I wanted to bring up is here was from 2013, government TDR Bank.
2 minutes, all right.
Okay, just 1 moment.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Newhart.
Sold to date was 201, we had 300 in 2013, so I don't know what you're selling.
Thank you much. Thank you, Mrs. Newhart. All right, so we have a motion, a second.
I just want one comment to
yeah.
clarify, because just so you understand my philosophy behind voting, I don't oppose every new development, but, in this gateway situation, that we have the opportunity to vote on it, if I didn't vote for it in the first place, then I feel like it's disingenuous for me to support the TDRs at any price. So I will not be voting for that reason, because I didn't support it originally.
All right, why don't we poll vote it, Marlon?
Okay?
I said you've been very consistent.
All right, we're gonna vote. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Fuller.
4.
Councilmember Morano.
I'm going to be inconsistent. 4.
Councilmember Reed. Opposed. Councilmember Salver.
4.
Councilmember Yaffe.
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder. 4. Mayor Leonard.
4.
Passes 6.
Very good, congratulations. All right, item number 17, please.
Consideration and approval of a proposal from the Bank Corp to lease 5 new PD vehicles in the amount of $29,679.29 per year.
I have a motion.
Just so everybody's clear, earlier in the consent agenda, there was 4 police cars. That's our normal budget process, and we replace cars that are older, that are going out of service, and we replace them on a regular basis. These are a result of the new police contract. We have 5 police officers that will be getting take-home cars, and this is the part of that, right?
Can I have a motion, please?
And I was also told, I'm sorry.
Somebody...
I didn't hear it, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it. Okay.
And just to be clear, I've been advised by our finance director to make sure that you know we're appropriating this from fund reserves, general fund reserves.
That's my, all right, I have a comment when I'm supposed to make.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I heard a motion, is there a second?
Did you say? He moved it, who seconded it?
Nobody, I'm just saying, is it, okay,
Kelly.
thank you.
There we go. All right. Councilwoman Morano.
Again, I'm not used to the financials, but what is supposed to be taken from the, used by the general reserve fund? Because if it's reserves, what is it supposed to be used for?
In this case, we were still in contract negotiation.
In any case,
Well, anything from reserves would be considered sometimes an emergency. If we had a major incident where we needed to spend money to fix something, or depending on what it was, it would be taken from that particular account. If it was a sewer disaster, it would come from sewer. If it was a hurricane, it would come from general fund reserves. Or if it was something that the council decided they want to do and it wasn't budgeted for. When we decided to build the 98th Street Park, money came out of general fund reserves to build the park. Certain capital projects that the town feels it wants to do, that's how they develop it.
so this would fall under an emergency?
No, this is actually just to comply with the contract that we approved. We didn't put it in the budget because at that time I didn't know if the contract was actually going to be passed, and I didn't know what form it was going to take. So it was hard to budget for something that I wouldn't want to spend budget for $30,000 without really knowing if I was going to actually
Well,
have
it's
to
not so
spend.
much the 30,000 that I'm worried about, but it's 30
I'm sorry,
here,
20.
20 there, and now the next one is another 120 something. And it's all coming out of the reserves, but how much is in our reserves?
Alan?
I'm sorry to make you get up. I'm being educated.
We have several $1 million in general fund reserves. And
How much?
Several $1 million. I would say $4 or $5 million at this point in general fund reserves. To answer your earlier question about what's appropriate to be budgeted from reserves, typically we say we don't like to budget ongoing operational expenses from reserves. The exception to that is when you decide to do something new, the first year you do it, as Mr. Watson alluded, it may not get included in the budget process. So you put these cars in out of general fund reserves. In our upcoming budget process, we will budget to maintain and comply with the contract, because the contract at this point is known.
So in other words, because the contract was just done, it's considered the first year an expense.
Right, and when we went through the budget process, we didn't know what the contract was going to include at that point.
But we did budget for things like the possible pay raise. There were some other things that you had an idea, right?
We always budget for that, not, depending on it. And we did better.
This was a long time in the making, wasn't it? And the take-home cars were on the table.
At least 9 years.
Yeah.
Alan, can you stay there for a second? Say the amount that we have in reserves more or less currently.
I think in general fund it's $4 or $5 million.
How much?
$4 or $5 million.
Okay, now, how much does it cost for us to run the town per month, more or less?
The general fund budget is about $5 million. What is it? About $5 million a year.
$5 million a year. So best practices would dictate that we have 6 months worth at least, so our reserve should really never run below 2.5.
Yeah, sure.
So you're just talking about general fund, you're not talking about
Yeah,
running
all the other,
Yes.
Well, he answered general fund.
I understand.
But the reserves is not just reserves for the general fund, is it? Well, you're talking about because this is coming out of the fund reserves. And that's just the $4 to $5 million, you said, is just the general fund reserves.
We have other reserve accounts.
yeah.
We have other reserves.
Yes.
We have other reserves.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yes.
So, can we have a poll vote?
Councilmember Yaffe.
4.
Councilmember Sauber.
4.
Councilmember Reed. 4. Councilmember Morano. 4. Councilmember Fuller.
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder.
4.
Mayor Leonard.
4.
Unanimous.
All right, very good.
Consideration and approval of expenditure of $123,036.92 for all emergency equipment to retrofit 3 current police vehicles and the 9 new police vehicles that'll be coming in, they're being ordered now.
I'll move it.
As you know, a police car, it's just not the old, lights and sirens anymore. It comes with radios, computers, all different types of equipment. And one of the more expensive things is the cage when you transport a prisoner. When we switched over to, we used to be able to switch equipment, especially the cage, from a Crown Vic to a Crown Vic, but we're going to different vehicles, so we can't do that anymore. So that's why those last 3, that's why there's an additional 3 costs to be outfitted.
I'd like to ask a question. How much does one police car cost us per month or per year?
5,000, well, about...
No. The lease,
The lease, 5,000
plus
per
all the
car.
equipment, plus the programs that, like that VIM thing was supposed to be 900 per car, that kind of thing. So
Well, we don't have a tracker system, so...
No, but I mean, in the end, with all the software, the whole thing, I mean, what does it actually cost to have 22?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I can tell you what a lease is.
I know the lease.
George, more important, what does it cost not to have it? The problem is we want these police cars, we want everything the police are going to provide.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, per car, what does it end up costing once you put all the bells, the whistles, the trackings, the software, that was the number I was looking for.
I understand, but I mean, I'm sure you can get the math, but the security is expensive, but it's worth it.
Can I just say that...
And we do, when the lease is over, after 5 years, we buy the car for $1. And if the car is in good shape, we keep it a little longer. And then by rotating them out on a consistent basis, we do get more money on the resale, like we auction them off, and we spend less money on maintenance. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. There was an old car here, the 2008 Chevy Impala. And why is that $4,000 with painting it and graphics and a light bar? Why are we putting money into a 2008 Impala?
Because if the car is deemed worth keeping, we keep it.
It's being repurposed to be used for the PSA.
Yes, we're taking it and using it for something else. PSA is a police service aid.
I just think there's been a disservice to your program not to explain the take-home car better, because not everybody understands the benefits. You just think you're putting this car on the road more, it's going home. I know you mentioned that there's a stipend that the officers have to pay for the gas, but I think somebody should really address that the studies show that those cars do last longer and that there's a huge benefit to the take-home car program.
I wish Alan Scholberg was here, because he's...
Well, this is where Kelly and I really agree. I mean, I can't tell how many years I've been asking for this program, so...
Well, this is where we disagree. I voted against the take-home cars.
No, you did.
I just don't see where we need 22 cars, where we don't just have a fleet of 11, where the officers...
It's in the contract, and
I know it's in the contract. I went against the contract.
Listen, you don't know how frustrating it is for me to sit here and want to meet with you and explain it to you, and I cannot. So I am begging somebody, please, from a union, from management, try to, explain.
All right,
At this point, we need to do this as part of the contract with the police, and
Let's
so...
update the cost.
Let's just vote on, call the question, so, thanks, Josh.
Okay.
Just say call the question.
Yeah, Councilmember Yaffe stepped away. So DeSilver. Okay, Councilmember Reed. 4. Councilmember Morano. 4. Councilmember Fuller.
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder. 4. Mayor Leonard.
4.
Passes.
Great. All right.
Item 19.
19.
Additional discussion requested by Councilmember Morano regarding concept presented at last month's meeting of a cohesive plan for the Causeway Island, which includes an entrance feature and some passive park features on the island's median. Enclosed is information provided by Councilmember Morano, and J.C. went out and did some pictures that he included here on a message board sign in different locations on the median.
to better illustrate where it could be placed and the best place for it to be placed, if we do it.
Okay, I want to just say, I don't want all these things discussed tonight. I had asked Marlene to just put on this reflection pond, that we could maybe purchase 2 benches to put here at the reflection pond, and they maybe do the rock water thing. The other thing is the sign, the informational sign on the street. But those are the only 2 things in this packet that I'm looking to resolve.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, I'll repeat what I said once before. I like the information, I like the design you had for the informational sign. I liked it before, I still like it. Just the location of where to put it. I don't like...
Well, did you look at the back?
Yeah, I did. But the whole thing about it is I don't love, it's kind of trying to put it to scale. I can't tell what JC the way you have it here...
I actually stood there with a piece of
Okay,
cardboard.
so you got a better thing. So
That's a mock-up that we had made, and I was just standing, I had my photo work sites out there standing. That's
Right.
exactly what it would look like if you had a sign out
But
there.
that's not a different design. That's not, in other words, the size of it will be larger depending on, let's just say we take, Doris's sign and the design that we had earlier, the one,
You don't worry,
no, I understand, I'm just saying as far as the view.
The one thing you have to disregard is what the outside looks like. Just look at the screen, because that's what the size would be. It would be a full-color screen, as the council...
Right, we wanted color.
I mean, Jason...
And the dimension is, I had included in there what the size would be.
Jesse, weren't people complaining about this when you were putting the signs out?
There was, I did receive a complaint from, when we were holding it, somebody came out, I was right by when we were by the bistro, they said, you're not putting, what is this? And we're like, oh no, it's just a rendering, because we're looking at putting informational signs. And they're like, well, they're hideous, and then just continue to walk out.
I stand by my comments. I think the place to put informational signs are where the residents are going to see them, not necessarily the 10,000 cars that travel up and down King Concourse, where most of them don't live or reside or do business in the town. They just have the privilege of paying the toll and coming and going from home and work. I think that if you're going to have informational signs, putting them either in front of Town Hall or the new community center is much better at getting the information out there. But putting them on King Concourse is, I don't like the orange, big orange signs, but I don't think just because they've been putting the big orange signs, we should continue. I don't think anybody likes that.
No, we were talking about doing the color. This is just, that's why I was asking before.
No, I was talking about the big orange.
Nobody likes it.
No one likes that either. But I don't think just because we've been doing that means we should make a bigger mistake by putting permanent signs where, advertising things like, for example, like a snow day where, oh great, everybody at Charlestown and King Concourse is going to know, because it's on a nicer board. I think putting it...
You're still doing that now. You're doing it on the construction.
I'm not in favor of it. I'm just giving my opinion. I think, and in regards to the reflection pond, my comments still, I'll carry them over. They haven't changed. I think it's inherently dangerous to actively promote pedestrian traffic on a state highway with no means to get across that road. I think that it might set us up for some liability issues, and I think that eventually someone is going to get hurt there, and I can't support that. I'm sorry.
Jordan, can I just ask you to clarify, when you say that to reach the most amount of residents, you should put it by the community center or town hall?
Let's do all.
Yeah, but I just think about it. I go months without driving by either of those, but I don't go that long without coming and going from the town. You either have to go over to North Miami or the beach. So even though we are limited on the East Island, on East Bay Harbor Drive, that's the obvious location to catch people coming in. And it's not just events that we might not want to invite too many people are coming, but if we are advertising a Bay Harbor meeting or Renew Your Sun Pass or something really important, then it's okay if you capture a Surfside or a Bal Harbor resident. They're going to see our meeting and say, okay, that doesn't apply to us. And that's critical, that we want to get the most people. But honestly, 95th Street and 97th Street, unless you live within a block radius, then don't even waste your time. I'd rather see nothing done at all. But what about on the West Island, somewhere around the gantry? Now, Mr. Coster mentioned earlier, he gave me some papers that I'll be giving Marlene, and we'll try to look at that at a later date. Are we allowed to hang anything from the sun past gantry? No. I didn't think so. Okay. But right around that grassy area where there's other signs, we talked about that, so that at least we'd be capturing the people that have to come from Miami. And I'm sure there might be some people who only use the beach entrance. Maybe they avoid the toll, maybe use 163rd, but I still think that an entry from the west and an entry from the east is what's going to catch everybody.
I tend to agree with Kelly. Although I don't like them on the causeway, I don't. And I know it's not ideal to have them on King Concourse, but if we are trying to target so that more people see them, then you have to go where more people pass. The side streets, I know, and I do believe the community center is going to be incredibly successful, but I don't think that's the best place to put a secondary large electronic sign. I think you're going to have a certain core that'll be at the community center, and I have no problem putting a sign at the community center as well, including maybe inside or something along those lines. But if you're trying to hit mass exposure, it's not on the side streets.
What I liked about these signs that J.C. did, it will also, the one particularly under the welcome sign that Miami Shores has, that west view, that's going to catch the cars going south and west, and even the ones coming up could see that information. So you're catching the three corners, or really all directions will be able to see that one sign. And the same thing on East Bay Harbor Drive. When I'm coming up from my house, I'll be able to read what's over there. Coming this way, this side, it's slanted, that even if you're at that light waiting to turn, you're able to read it because it's slanted.
I think you're going to have a distraction. I think you're going to have a driving distraction. I think if we're looking at places, even though I don't think they're ideal, I mean, if you want the best exposure, I think is where we usually end up putting the election signs, those two spots.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what
exact
I'm
two,
talking about.
but what I'm saying is, the angle we're saying you're going to see it from different angles, you're really not. I think
no,
you're
you
going
can
to
see
it
that
head on,
election.
or you're not. And
I just think that people in the business district are going to...
I agree with you. I don't love it.
I'm just saying...
You have to decide if you're just trying to do exposure, this for people to see it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in the same breath we're supposed to help the business district, we're going to do something that they're not going to like. And, I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you support the businesses and we're gonna help them with advertising, and then we're gonna do something specifically that they're collectively not gonna like.
They had a meeting, or a committee that could talk about like 3 or 4 of these things, maybe.
Right.
So you were talking about...
This is where
Yeah,
teamwork.
it's an exciting thing what she's trying.
Right.
How about in the medium?
I would...
It's very
Too
narrow.
big?
And-
Signs are too big.
And if you make it too small, you won't be able to...
So,
make it.
since we're
Let's
planning
listen.
on having maybe a business committee, I think that we need to send it, like we do everything else, to that business, and have maybe, like we've done in the past, invited the businesses to come in the morning and have a discussion of what they feel.
I have to say that this sign in front of Eagle Bank has no consequence on the business district. The sign where we put our election sign really doesn't stop anything, and I know a few people told J.C. don't put it there. Meanwhile, what's best for the community? What's best to get to our, I mean, I don't know why this is such a no-brainer here. I mean, and you can ask, and, listen, this teamwork thing you talk about, Jordan, I don't know what you have against informing the citizens with a sign. Now you're trying to say that I'm against business?
No.
This is what it's talking about.
Couldn't one of the messages possibly be business-related?
Doris, no, listen, I'm not against, informing residents. On the contrary, I mean, who do you think was the person that made sure that we expanded the newsletter to make sure it was every house?
Guys, let me interrupt. Let's not get into an argument. Let's talk about the sign.
Okay, let's get to the sign. I'm the only person on this council that has had a business on King Concourse.
Jordan,
You know what, you're gonna say that?
Jordan. The only issue is, do we want a sign, and if we do, where do we want it?
Exactly.
Doesn't
That's
matter
all
if
we
we put
can.
in business, anything.
Fine.
If we want to put it to, if we're going to talk about adopting or a business district, Councilmember Morano has suggested, then that's a good thing to bring to that committee.
Now, I will say that these locations, this is all FDOT right of way, it's all subject to FDOT approval, and I have to get a permit for it, just like I had to for the
No guarantee they would
Regal
approve it
sculpture
up.
and all that.
Yeah. All right.
I would also say,
Oh, there's a discussion, sorry. Francis Newhook. I didn't see.
Okay, first of all, our election is coming up, and nobody had mentioned this this evening, and again, those signs would really help. Maybe people will come out and vote this year. We've got 2 candidates up here, incumbents, and nobody even mentioned an election. It's a secret. Maybe if we had election signs and the other, it would be very nice, Jordan. We don't need secret elections anymore. The other thing is,
Gee, look at this, look at this in the newsletter.
oh my, isn't that nice? Well, why don't you post that on the street? Okay, next question is, and I'm tired of Miss Morano coming to our town and with the same agenda of it being dangerous. Oh, it's so dangerous. Did you ever think how dangerous it is putting our children in snow day on a state road with this height for children to run out into the state road? Did you know that's dangerous? And that we have a school with an interlocal agreement where our children can actually play and have a bathroom and parents and even a parking lot for them. Why do we have them on a dangerous state road, okay? We don't need that. And as far as that being a state road, we used to have a fishing pier there until it blew away. And wasn't that dangerous? And it was very popular. So this person, all she wants is something nice on the causeway other than, well, it's beautiful now, but of course, having that would even be more beautiful, and we would all appreciate it. I'm tired of looking at the bicycle, the tires that go on there, okay, because that's all I see. Instead, have a place to go and enjoy ourselves. So stop talking about these things to Mrs. Morano, that they are dangerous, because those functions for our public are dangerous. It's on a state road. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, Mrs. Newhut. All right, any action? No action? All right, we're going to move on to number 20 then.
Can
Number
I
20.
make a motion, or what are we going to do?
Sure, that's why I just asked.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to, I mean, I don't know this particular sign, but I'd like to, you guys are not sure of where you want to put it? I mean, I think those are the only 2 spots, east and
Why
west.
don't you defer it?
Hmm?
Why don't you defer it?
Why don't we, yeah, I think, why don't we go ahead and just see, if we're going to go ahead and create the committee and go through that.
Okay, what about the reflection pond?
Well, that's up to you. I mean, I'm talking about the sign at first.
I make a motion to put 2 benches up on the knoll and get the rocks on the, on that knoll also. That's what I'm looking for.
I'll second it for sake of discussion.
I'm sorry, I can't vote in favor of it. I think that just inviting people there without the ability for them to get there safely is opening up the town to liability that I'm not in favor of. And I think that, and we've had a, discussion about this. I think that if we're going to be discussing, the Causeway Island, it should be more in-depth than just, we had a meeting and we decided to make it this. I think it needs a lot more. We've had more discussion on things that are much smaller in scale than the Causeway Island, that for, over 60 years, our former councils have not done anything. We're just going to decide in a meeting at 10 o'clock at night. I don't think that's in our best interest of the town.
Stop putting it at the end of the meeting.
All right. Any other conversation?
Yes, I've said before that I would like to plan Causeway Island cohesively, all at once. I don't want to piecemeal it, And I think this place right here where you're talking about, it's a staging area right now for construction, right?
No,
The parking lot.
no. The knoll is there, ready to do anything. You've got to put 2 benches on it, that's it.
And what was the approximate cost of it?
Of what?
2 benches and some rocks.
Well, I think when you do a bench, didn't I hear in Parks conversations that you have to put a walkway to it, there's all kinds of requirements?
You have to bring it up to
That is
ADA
correct.
requirements.
So you can't just stick a bench in the grass, right?
And then in that knoll, that is drainage retention. There's not always water in there. And
You have the rocks.
if you want to continue having water in there continuously, then that means putting in some type of fountain type of system that'll keep circulating. But there will be many a day, especially during the dry season, where there will be no water there.
That's fine. I'm not saying that you have to put a water function there, but just the rocks and the grassy knoll and the trees would be very serene and beautiful.
All right, well, do you want to vote on this? We have a motion and a second.
It's moved and seconded.
All right, so,
Well, then I'll just comment, I mean,
yes, please.
I've always been against putting anything on Causeway Island. I like the views, I don't think that we want to attract people out there. I think there are liability issues, I've just always consistently been against that. For that reason, I'm going to vote against this.
I would prefer, instead of on the no, I like the grass. I'm concerned about safety. I mean, just last week, we had a little boy who was hit and airbagged.
Yep.
Hit what? Oh, in Surfside.
Right, but it's a kid who from our, who goes to our school, who was, and they're children, and I don't think personally that's not an area that I would want to have my children. I do think that on the 2 sides by the, when you get off, by the seawall where you walk, I think that that's an area that maybe we can put a walkway and have maybe some benches close to the water, where I think it's a little safer.
At the base of the bridge, you mean? At the base of the bridge?
At the base of the bridge, where you walk.
On the west side of the bridge.
On the west side of the bridge, maybe we can do a pathway with some benches looking at the water.
I think that's more dangerous than being in the center of it.
We'll go there.
You, like she said, you have this street right here where you always are having functions for children, Halloween, snow day, our annual picnic. The child.
I got interrupted. With the snow day, I don't understand how this became a safety issue. This snow day was perfectly safe.
Well, that's what it was.
I don't think you were there with me. Let's not drag snow day into whether or not we're playing on the causeway. I mean, this was...
Playing on the,
it was not playing on the street.
Wait a minute, every street has a sidewalk of what, maybe 4 feet? So you have a border of maybe 4 feet, but yet people and kids are walking right there, and it's not a dangerous situation. Now all of a sudden, oh my goodness, it's out on the causeway, it's going to be so dangerous. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that you would allow that and not
is
that.
different from playing on the causeway. But leaving it at that, I'll just say this.
No, I'm saying that children could run out any time into the street, and that's dangerous.
Okay, I'm not going to use that now. I'm just going to say this. As I've said for a long time, I'm open to ideas on the causeway. I'm not closed-minded on it. I just don't think this is the right answer. I'm not putting just 2 benches randomly out there. I don't agree with that. But if you come up with an idea that works for a future plan, I'm more than happy to listen to it and see what we can do.
All right, so what, you want to vote on this, or you want to defer it? Doris?
I don't care.
All right, we're
I
gonna,
think we should defer.
There's a motion and a second on that.
unless if you say you want to defer it.
Defer. Make a motion?
You've already moved it. You moved it. Do you want to defer?
Defer to be sent in? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
To withdraw the motion?
Yeah, this is where I hope.
Thank you.
All right, number 20, please.
Discussion requested by Councilmember Morano, creating a business district committee.
I'll move it. I'll second. Go ahead.
All right, I basically would like to get the merchants on the business district to be the committee. Hopefully Mike Cigars, Emilio's, and see what they want to do, because we have no events schedule for our season is going to be over, and let them try and come up with some events that we can work with them.
George, it's a good idea. You got my support.
How are we going to decide? Are we going to apply, have people apply, and then we're going to
Just
decide?
like the other committees, let them come in and say they want
What's
to
the
be in it.
composition? How many members? Are we going to have a few business members, a few consumer at large?
Now, wait a minute, I'm talking about merchants that are down on the first floor, who are not the ones so much up in the buildings.
Right, let's
This is, to create walking,
So what we
create
need, I
people
think,
to come
I
out.
agree with Kelly, I think we need a certain amount of consumers and a certain amount of merchants, because,
A little diversity of different kind of businesses. I mean, you're going to see how many people are interested anyway, but it would be good if you could get some people from 95th, some from Kane Concourse, maybe even one from an office building or something, just because they're all part of the district and they'll all be able to share ideas.
I mean, I think keeping it broad as far as anyone that has, that's within the district on 95th or 96th Street, I think is fine. I think that you're going to get people on the first floor. I think you should get people on higher floors, because, I mean, certainly some of those professionals probably would be to the
Just
benefit.
advertise in the newsletter that
Let's see what responds.
right, and let's see what we
have a new committee
Yeah.
and invite people to apply.
But the requirements would be that either you have a business in the town, in the business district,
or you live here.
or you live here, because maybe a resident would like to and
We'll
say,
say
I'd
there'll
like to
be, you know
see
what, we'll
this.
say that there'll be seats for both different groups, and we ask everybody to apply, and we'll see what it says.
But
I would just like to make the mission to get more foot traffic on the
Of course, we all agree,
That's where-
we've all said that.
in the mission statement.
So we'll do that. All right. Moving on,
But
now,
wait, just for clarification, the composition though, it would be...
It's
Based on,
open.
It's open, and we'll
only-
decide.
Like
We'll
if seven
appoint as we
residents, but they
want.
don't have businesses on there?
then
we'll appoint as we want when they
No,
have
that's
enough
not what I'm,
We'll
that's
appoint
not
as
what I'm
Right,
asking.
it needs to be
That is not what I'm
clarified.
asking. I don't want residents and
But
no
if nobody
businesses.
else applies,
They will apply.
Okay.
They will want to be on the committee
Okay,
because
that's
this
fine.
district is dying. We have a new business coming in, I mean, let's see what we find out, and then we could always expand it.
We can, listen, I mean, if the members of the business community don't want to be in the committee, then it's
Then
not
it's a
going to be a
problem.
very,
Then it's a problem, and
It's not
maybe
gonna
we
be
don't want the
functional,
committee in
you
the first
right,
place.
okay, so let's reinstate.
all right. So moving to 21?
It's been, is that mine?
Yeah.
So I'm withdrawing it because Isaac's not here to the next.
The next meeting? Okay, great. So we're done. Great. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? A second? All right,
Defer
we're
to the next
adjourned.
meeting.
Happy New Year.